Hello to all the listeners. My name is Dylan,
And I'm Dylan.
and we would like to thank you for taking the time to give us a listen. And if you do enjoy, please drop a like and subscribe for our weekly podcast, or even check out the clips that we post from each show.
You can take the time to follow us on Twitter, along with following our weekly podcast streaming on twitch.tv/Dylan and Dylan. And if you want to check out the podcast later, you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, available now.
Thank you, and enjoy the podcast. All right, so of course, we are starting off this week. We went on a 1 week hiatus for a little bit there. Dylan, the other Dylan, was moving. He is now in a new place, so that would be a new setup. Still kind of perfecting the in ultra beige background that he's got going on there, but we'll keep
I
it.
need to get some lights. I'm going to get some lights in the future.
Yeah, that would definitely. Just some lights like on in the background would be very nice as far as lighting. And yeah. So anyways, we're back this week with a bunch of new stuff because obviously we missed a lot in that week because a lot of stuff happened. Of course it did. First off, the Olympics is going on. So this is going to be, I feel like, a heavy Olympics episode, strictly because obviously it's been going on for 12 days and there's a lot to talk about. And what I tried to do was go through and pick out headlines and things that I saw that I wanted to talk about versus just like the, this is who won gold in the 100 meter. This is who won gold in the 200 meter. Well, that's great. Like, no, I wanted to be more about like the storylines, more about like, who's showing out, who's representing, first gold medals, first time for 5 new events in this Olympics. So that's going to be fun to talk about. There's just a lot of stuff to talk about that's cool because it's the Olympics and that's how it always ends up being. Dylan, I know you and your move haven't had a lot of time to watch any of the Olympics, so that'll be good because you'll be fresh to all this news just as well.
I watched sand volleyball, which was actually really cool, and it was twos, and I think it was an older team versus Argentina. It was the USA team. I forget the Americans' last names as well, but it was actually really fun to watch, and it was different. It was fast paced, so I enjoyed that part. I didn't get to watch any indoor, but I would have, because that's something I'm super interested in. But it was cool. It was nice.
Yeah, so a lot of cool things to talk about. So we're gonna run through all of the Olympics day by day because it's kind of hard to just run through a bunch of headlines without kind of some type of format. So we're just gonna go day by day and kind of highlight the things from each day that I thought were cool. I mean, some of the days had some really, a lot of cool things happen. Some days, had a couple of things. So we'll talk about that and get you up to date and all the storylines that at least I think are interesting or cool enough or fun to follow.
Yes, be my Twitter feed.
So we'll talk exactly. About I'm basically going to be your Twitter feed for the Olympics. So it's gonna be filtered through like my lens of what I think is interesting. And then we have a couple or a couple other topics that we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're going to hit the NBA because that free agency market just went nuts for the first little bit there. Our Chicago Bulls, who are a team that's just been ever disappointing since Jordan left and retired. We are finally maybe back. So that's something to be excited about, or at least going to be interesting to watch and should be fun to watch. So that's a first since the D-Rose era. Yep. So that's great. And then a couple of things about the Bears. Couple things about the NFL. Why are the Giants just deciding to implode before the season even starts?
Oh, come on.
Carson Wentz has an injury. Are we shocked? No, but we'll talk about it and what that injury means. Yeah, it's a new / old injury how did this go under the radar in college and the Eagles? Like, is their training staff?
Well,
yeah, but okay, but like, are we really expecting the training staff at his high school to catch a very small, thing that's maybe going to be a problem later? Like, no, I blame the Eagles for a majority of them not catching that because that's ridiculous. After 6 years, you couldn't figure out anything with that. Like, anyways, we're gonna talk about that because that's also fun to talk about. So, plenty of topics, plenty of stuff to go through, and yeah, so I think we can kick it off. That's the end of my opening monologue. So we'll kick it off with the start of the Olympics, day 0, as some will say. The opening sequence, which I don't know if you saw any of it or at all. I don't know if you caught any of it. Okay, so it was cool. There was actually some pretty cool things going on as far as obviously you have each country coming out representing themselves, in their, own fashion, performing, whatever kind of ceremonial dances, presentations, whatever they kind of do to present their country and their pride in their country. So there's a lot of things like that happening, which was really cool to see, of course, and is always fun to watch because you learn something every time you watch it. Then they had a cool drone display, which is now becoming a must in all Olympic type of things or big event settings. So that was actually pretty cool. And then the passing of the torch, which is of course one of the biggest honors in Olympic history and in the world history, happened, which was really cool the way that they did it. So ceremoniously, there's been one person, maybe two people that pass the torch or carry the torch on. You have that famous the biggest image that comes to mind is of course Muhammad Ali bringing the torch up there right before he kind of started to become really debilitated by his illness. So that was really awesome. But this sequence, what they did was is they actually had multiple relays, I guess you would say, and it was cool because it started out with like kind of a younger athlete, and then it went to an older athlete, ex-athlete of the Olympics, representing China, and then or Japan, sorry, and then it went on to I believe it was kids. I think it was like kid athletes. And then it went on to, I don't know if I'm messing this order up, but it went on to like a healthcare worker that was carrying a torch. A paraplegic athlete for the Olympics was also in a wheelchair, carried the torch down and passed it on to another couple of people. And then it finally ended up, the last one was a reveal that they hadn't revealed beforehand, so it was a complete surprise to everybody just watching at home. Was Naomi Osaka was chosen as the final torchbearer to actually carry it up the flight of stairs, and it was insane, like the way that they did it. It was like watching like a video game presentation of like the final boss or something. Like the way that they did it was they had her stand at the base of the stairs and the music's building, and then they like lit the sides of the stairs going up until they reached the top thing where the torch was going to be, and it was in this like ball that had been formed by a couple metal pieces, and the metal pieces basically came out or like like expanded, and then you could see the torch, and then she like walked it up the flight of stairs like and reached the top like as the music crescendoed, and then like you had her like light the torch. It was like this crazy
I
cool
don't even
like
have to watch it now. It was better described.
You should watch it because it was still very cool, but it was definitely interesting, and it was something that like not saying other Olympics don't do it well, but it was like a cool thing that I really haven't seen like that kind of production on it. So that was really awesome, and a good way to start the Olympics off because Naomi Osaka was under a lot of heat. We've talked about it before. Catch you can go watch our video on our opinions on it because we do have very strong opinions. Shocker on that. That whole sequence with her having to step away from tennis because of dealing with mental illness issues and anxiety and all that. And so it was really cool to see that she was the one that was carrying the torch. So that was the way that the Olympics started. Pretty cool way to start it. Not gonna lie.
She carried the heat this time. That's
yeah,
cool.
exactly. And then day one kicked off. So day one, we started off. There was a couple, events going on. Softball had been going on, so there's like a couple of those qualifier type, events. But my first big story or story that I thought was really interesting was, oh my god, Hoochie 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 Ho, I think it was, or Hoochie Joe. I can't remember pronounce the names, and I'm sorry because I'm going to butcher so many freaking names. Wins the gold and sets the Olympic world record in women's weightlifting, which really was, of course, kicking off. Was a cool way to start the Olympics because every year there's records broken. In this Olympics, there's been a lot of world records broken. When I mean a lot, I mean like almost every event you hear is like, oh, this person broke a world record.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, this was like setting the stage for like the rest of the Olympics is just going to be record breaking, performances one after another in like events that you wouldn't think of and just ways that you wouldn't think of. So it was a really cool way to start it out. Cool story with her winning and everything. So just where I wanted to start day one, like I said, didn't have a ton going on for it. It was more so we're starting events, things are kicking off. You have heats, which in the Olympics, there are, groupings of players or people participating in the sport, which are put into groups called heats. If you qualify, basically finishing top 2 or top 3 in your heat, usually you qualify to then move on to the next rounds. So a lot of these Olympics were starting off with mainly just the heats getting started. So that was kind of day one. Then we rolled into day 2, and we had some right off the bat, some starting exciting stories. Khalees and Litherland win the gold and silver in the men's 400 meter medley. That was the first 2 Olympic gold medal, or first 2 Olympic medals this year for us in the United States. So kicking it off well with a gold and a silver in the same event, which is, of course, something awesome. And those 2 guys would actually pop up again a little bit later. Callis, I think is his name.
This is gonna be my favorite part. Is just you announcing the names.
Oh God, yeah,
there's so many good ones.
Have a clip of this. I would love for us to, like, at some point when we've become a lot bigger, and hopefully we will then have just a compilation of, like, from the start of the podcast to, like, the latest episode of me just trying to pronounce names, because that's what it's going to be. Listen, I'm putting in my effort here. I'm bringing it just like they're bringing it in the Olympics, and we're back. Look at that transition. Cool. So yeah, so great great start to the event. And then, of course, the torchbearer herself, Naomi Osaka, got kicked off in her first sets, where she won in straight sets in the first opening round for her. So that was really cool. She did, have go on a little bit of a run in the Olympics that was pretty, well done. And then she ended up losing a little bit later in kind of a, definitive manner, but still a cool run for her to get back. It was the first time competing since she had stepped away previously. It was her first tournament. So that was really cool. The fact that she was able to step in and play, very much the same that we had seen before, and her dominating, like I said, in straight sets. So that was really cool. Then we had our next event, which was really cool as well. Kicking again, still in the second or day 2. So one of the new events in the Olympics happened to be skateboarding, which was really cool. I don't know if you got to catch any of the skateboarding that was going on.
I noticed there's a couple events in here that you said, like, they started out, or there was something new that was introduced. I was kind of curious about that sort of process of, like, when does something get voted in by the Olympic Committee, I'm guessing?
Yeah,
I think become an event.
Essentially, yeah, I think it's when eventually an event has enough popularity around it where they, believe that there's enough athletes and it's got enough ground where it can, basically, it's one of those where, because you have to have it be popular in countries enough that multiple countries can participate. So, it's one of those where, and there's some events like, 2 of the bigger new events are skateboarding and surfing. Obviously 2 big things that have been around for years, but it's one of those where actually getting it into a competition type form, especially with skateboarding, as its popularity has grown, same with surfing, you've now gotten to a point where they can put it officially in the Olympics. And we'll talk about surfing later, because it's actually really interesting how they go about that. But the skateboarding was really cool. The way that they did it, at least we were watching in the different heats, we got to see the one heat where it actually had 2 of the people, or no, the third place winner of the skateboarding was Jagger Eaton from the United States, and he won bronze medal. He was finished first in the heat that we were able to watch, so it was kind of cool. The way they did it is they had a free round where essentially you tried to rack up as many points as you could in this free round based on your tricks and stuff, and they would just run the course, and you'd go for like I think it was 2 minutes. Just do whatever whatever you can in the 2 minutes. So that was cool, and that was their starting point total. And then what happened next is they had 5 tricks that they could try. If they failed a trick, they would receive a 0 score, and you get 5 attempts basically. So if you hit all 5, you're racking up the points. But that, of course, wasn't the case. Of course, I think the average I saw was like, basically they would complete like 2 or 3 of the 5 tricks, because obviously they're trying things that are very difficult, so that's also going to factor into it. So that was really cool how they did that, because it was like allowing them to basically, like, okay, you got your free run, you racked up as many points as you could, now let's see you perform tricks, because it allowed people that maybe didn't perform well in the free run can perform better in the just individual trick basis, which happened with a couple different skateboarders this year too. So it was a cool way of doing it. And of course Tony Hawk was the one that was like commentating a lot of it too, which was also fun, because Tony Hawk's just Tony Hawk. He's great. One of my favorites though was, I can't remember what skater it was, but it was in the heat that we were watching with Jagger, Eaton, and essentially the guy went to go do a trick and he did it and it looked pretty cool. You know, of course, me and Alyssa, knowing nothing about the skateboarding, realm of the world, we're like, oh, that trick was pretty cool. And like Tony Hawk was like, wow, I can't believe that's even a trick. Like I can't even believe that's even considered a trick in this Olympics. Like that's, I mean, the difficulty level, that should just not be something you see in this competition. And I was like, man, Tony just went in on this guy. It's like, holy cow, he just ripped this man's heart out and then just ran over it with the skateboard.
I
And it was
suppose he's
great.
got nothing left to lose, so I guess he doesn't
I mean,
care.
it's Tony Hawk. He's, what do you like? The reason why the skateboarding is probably in the Olympics is because of Tony Hawk. So it's like, what are you going to say? I mean,
Yeah.
he can basically say whatever he wants, and people respect him and everything for his, because he also had the skill, to back it. So
Yeah.
it was just funny. So skateboarding was really cool to watch, and of course, the first ever gold medalist in skateboarding was the one that you see on your screen right now, which is Yudo Horigame. I believe I actually pronounced that pretty well.
That was good.
Look at me. Yeah, so he won gold in the first ever skateboarding event in the Olympics, and really it was a good showing by him, and it was, like I said, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the skateboarding segment when I was able to watch it, and so I definitely, will look forward to it more and more, because as it becomes, bigger, obviously, because now it's an event in the Olympics, people are actually going to take it, very seriously, because it's like, no, I can go to the Olympics for this. So it'll be fun to see people in the future, continue to kind of progress, and the tricks get better and the skills get better. It's just gonna be so much fun to watch, I think, and a cool like new sport that they added, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and let me hold on, give me 1 minute to be right back. I just had something come up.
oh boy. All right, well, here I am. Now we're doing another monologue. These monologues usually revolve around what else but drinking, because of course that's what we're doing right at the moment. And talking sports. Yeah, sports are great, but we're also talking about drinking. So I am currently, what am I drinking? I saw Samuel Adams had this wicked hazy juicy, wow, I literally almost said that with a Boston accent too. So wicked just rolls off the tongue in Bostonite, but essentially it's a wicked hazy IPA, New England IPA. So you can see that right there on the screen. So shout out to them, 6.8%. It's not bad, actually, I would say. I don't feel like it's as hazy, quote unquote, as some of the other ones that I've had. But you can always tell, like I can always tell when I know I'm going to enjoy an IPA just by the color, and this is definitely one of those that I will enjoy sipping. So, and I am enjoying. So yeah, that's whenever Dylan has to step away, this is the monologue that I go with, which is just what am I drinking this time around?
That was perfect. It was just the perfect amount of time too. It's great.
Oh yeah, Dylan, we are professionals here. Okay. So next, sticking with day 2, we roll on to another really cool thing, which was that we won our first ever gold medal in fencing, which is really cool. Obviously, fencing is something that may not be as popular in the United States as it is worldwide, but apparently it is very popular worldwide. And it's something that I didn't know, but apparently it is. I always thought it was, of course, here in America, it kind of has that knack of being like one of those sports that they just play at those Ivy League schools because
exactly.
they're too smart and bored. But yeah, so like that's what I've always seen it as. But apparently it's very popular worldwide. So it's cool that we got our first. Lee Kiefer was her name. She's the one that wins the gold. That's the one that you're seeing right now on your screen. So yeah, so another highlight of day 1, or day 2, I'm sorry, which was really cool. And another one of those storylines where I'm like, of course, whenever somebody wins a gold in, for the first time ever for a country, let alone, in events, is awesome. So, right off the bat, that was something that I was like, ooh, gotta highlight that because that's really cool. Especially because, like I said, fencing is, again, one of those sports that you don't readily think is, going to be talked about, or like, I don't know, not like talked about, but just like something that would be popular in America. So the fact that like an American finally won one is really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised. I didn't even know. Do you know who like was dominating it for the most part, or was it one of those sports where it just kind of went back and forth between?
Yeah, so in my very limited knowledge about what fencing is and in the sport itself, it looked like for the most part that the matches were close, or very close, to the point where like you're maybe like, you know how tennis, like volleyball is like, oh, there's like 2 points, you know, each team's trying to like finish for the game, you know, the set match or whatever, or match point, whatever. I just butchered a bunch of words for volleyball. Sorry. Should have just let you actually say
no,
it,
that was good. I think that was fine.
Okay. So anyways, yeah. So it's something like that where I think they finished very close in points. So the margin of victory is very small. And so it's very cool that she ended up winning that. And then the next thing I wanted to highlight, which was a really shocker in the Olympics, because he was not somebody who was thought to be, you know, in that top echelon of swimmers, or like one that was going to be a favorite. Because you know how they always have a couple favorites every year that they're like, listen, this person's been on fire, they're doing super well. You know, let's see, they're probably going to perform well. And a lot of times it is the case, but in this case, it was kind of cool because there was a newcomer. I believe he was 18 years old. Hafnawi. One for the oh man, Tunisia. I literally said
Tunisia?
it right earlier. Tunisia. Jeez, my God. Just drink a little bit more on that one. Holy crap.
Oh, I knew that one. That makes me feel good. That's like one of the words I could pronounce. Okay.
I just listened to a story on Tunisia too, so I'm like, I don't know why. Anyways, yeah, so Tunisia won their first ever gold in swimming, like any swimming event. And he won it 18 years old. And he was also an underdog. So, and he won it pretty convincingly. Like if you watch him, he was like, he definitely, it was one of those where it wasn't like a photo finish. Like it was like, oh yeah, he won.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
18?
Yeah, 18 years old. Dude, there's some young people in this Olympics that are winning. I'm pretty sure one of the skateboarders that won too, I believe the girl was like 13 or something like that. But
what?
There's just yeah, dude,
what?
It's insane for skateboarding.
She's allowed to compete even?
I think so. I'm like pretty sure she did.
All right, we need to cut this off at some point, because like at what point is it an advantage to be a 13-year-old who's that small? Because like in theory, can't you do more?
Yeah, well, but like also like usually your talent, you get better over time. Like so it's one of those where it's like, you know, like yeah, she's young, but she also could just be like a young phenom being able to do things that, you know, other people. She's literally winning in the Olympics still, and she's one of the very few people in the world that are her doing what she's doing.
I'm just saying, I don't think she's talented. I think it's just because she's young. Of course, that's the only way.
Of course. God,
that's
Dylan,
insane.
Shakes.
I didn't even know you could compete at that age. I thought there was an age restriction. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought there was too for most sports. I bet you that is the case, but it's one of those where, I mean, like it's a new sport to Olympics, and so they probably, you know, widen the age gap to allow for more people to participate, you know. But
yeah,
either way, yeah, 18 years old, crazy to, you know, literally win the first ever. There's a lot of firsts in this Olympics too, and there is a lot of that, you know, obviously in every Olympics, but it was awesome. Oh God, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry, that is on the docket. We are going. By the way, if for Aaron out there, we're going day by day. So when that day comes, oh, you best believe we're going to talk about that because that was incredible. But anyways, to continue, then the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is really cool, is Anastasia Zolotic wins the first ever gold medal for the United States in Taekwondo, which is a lot of words I just said right there, which was I nailed.
A lot of cool words, yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of words there that I said, but awesome because we have never won a gold in Taekwondo, and so she finally did, which is insane because that's insane. I mean, we're just not a sport that like, or
we're not a Taekwondo nation
thing that like we've ever been good at. Yeah, right. Honestly. So that's yeah. So it's just awesome. It's another one of those like amazing, great, you know, first gold wins kind of thing, and it's awesome for her. And I think she's been doing a couple interviews here since then, you know, because of course she's like, you know, the ruling the karate world and all that stuff. So that was really cool. So again, just one of those things where I just saw it and was like, this is something that needs to be talked about. So, and that kind of caps off my day 2 presentation. Those are the kind of things that if you missed any of the things that I just talked about from day 2, you know, go back, check them out. Awesome. You know, all of them great clips, great. You know, it's always fun to watch the people celebrate, you know, a win and everything, especially being that, you know, the Olympics doesn't come around very often. So when you're able to, you know, go for it.
Spend the extra time.
So
yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah, exactly. So
also check check if you have anything open on internet as well. Your video is coming in a little bit blurry, but everything else is fine.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm trying to like figure out maybe what is also drawing
Kick everyone else off the internet, just in case.
Yeah, I wish.
Don't need it. Don't need it for anybody else. Well, boy, okay, that was an extensive day 1.
Yeah. Well, that was day 2. Sorry, that was day 2.
Extensive day 2.
Yeah. Very long day 2. There was a lot more cool things that happened on day 2 than day 1. But that's okay. We'll talk more about, other events and things as we go. Okay. So day 2 was awesome. Now we move to day 3, and highlighting day 3 right off the bat was Luka Doncic taking Slovenia their first appearance in the Olympics for men's basketball. And he just decided that he was going to just not let them lose, which is what he's done basically throughout so far. And I don't know if there's any, I don't have day 12 in here because day 12 would be today. So I don't have the notes on that. So I don't know if they played today or if he won or if he lost. I don't know. You guys might know ahead of me, but essentially he's been dominating the court, and Slovenia is onto the semifinals in basketball, which is awesome. But in his first appearance in the Olympics, frickin' Luka drops 48 points, which is 2 points more than his total that he's ever reached in the NBA.
Yeah.
So
insane.
He's really deciding to just go incredibly off on the Olympics. And it's, you know what? I'm here for it. I would love for a Luka led Slovenia team to end up against the USA team for gold.
Yeah.
And
so
honestly, I'd be okay if we lost.
Or yeah, go ahead.
So I know I was gonna say, honestly, I'd be okay if we lost.
Yeah.
At that point, because if he ends up pulling that off, that is ridiculous.
From what I understood, they could win a gold medal. I think if they win their next 2 matches, and I think at least one of them, I think is maybe against France or something. But they are still in position that they could. So I'm actually going to check up that on the background and see what their situation is. But yeah, that's very cool too. Just keeping track of that on the side.
So, so that's just again something that I want to follow with. And then day 3 continued, and tennis continued, and Naomi Osaka again won her next match. She has since, like I said, been eliminated, but it was still a very good showing for a person who's been off tennis for quite a bit, and who was the torchbearer for this Olympics. So it was really cool to see her dominate in the first event, win her second, and at least put out a good showing out there. Was fun to watch. So. And that was the first 2 things of day 3. Oh, and then day 3 really got going with the next couple events, which I'll give you a second to.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't have an image for it, but then I started to Google USA shooting, and too many things non-Olympics related came up.
That is not a good way to go.
So it actually took a little bit to come up with anything, but
yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's fair. That's understandable. My notes probably not the best way of writing that, because I did write the US dominates in shooting.
I mean, we do.
That's a joke that writes itself, and I really don't want to. That's a terrible joke that writes itself. So we're just going to move on from that.
Yeah.
To, what I was trying to get at is that we have basically dominated for some reason in all of the, well, not for some reason, I feel like we should all know why the reason is, in the different range shooting events that are happening. So it's kind of something that I wanted to highlight, just because it's not something that I ever watched before. I never watched the marksmanship type of stuff like that. And so seeing the fact that Americans are just winning over and over again is kind of funny, because again, the joke just writes itself that we're dominating in the shooting events,
right?
But yeah, just something I wanted to highlight again from day 3, that we are kind of going dominating all those events.
I mean, really, it'd be embarrassing if we weren't. It'd be you could just look out your front window and everyone's already in on the sport, and you keep up with it whenever you want. We in theory should be right up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. No. So, and then next is one of the coolest things I think that's happened in the Olympics, literally in the entire Olympics, which I don't know if it's really gotten as much talk because of it not being one of the more popular events. But Diaz is her name, wins the Philippines' first ever gold medal. like ever.
First ever?
Like, yes, like the country's first ever gold medal.
Oh, dang.
Like that's yeah. Like so her expression is the expression of a person who's finally won a gold medal for her entire country's history. So
yeah, that literally
pretty
writes
cool.
you in the history books.
Yeah, I mean, pretty freaking awesome. So I just want to highlight that because that's insane. And that's very, like I said, very cool. And again, it's just one of those like storylines and great things that just make the Olympics great is having stuff like that where literally the country's first ever gold medal. I'm not kidding you. Like it's like to stress something like that. Like we are so used to used to gold medals and stuff in America just because we are a country that has a large population, a lot of money, and the ability to train athletes at a much higher, success rate than, maybe other countries. And because of our resources as well as the pool we're pulling from. So some countries that, have only a couple 100,000 people or something like that. It's awesome to see smaller countries win medals for the first time ever and see the athletes too when they kind of like again, this is her expression when it's hitting her that like, yeah, you just won your first ever gold medal for your country, like your entire country's history.
Yeah.
So like no matter what they ever talk about your country and the Olympics, that you're getting mentioned.
The Wikipedia
like the
bullet
only
point is just you, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
Like that's
I didn't know
insane.
I didn't know this about like Olympics competition in general, and this probably should have been an obvious thing, but that you could choose, like if you are still an American athlete, but I mean like you could see this with lots of other examples. I just didn't think about it. And maybe this is a reason why they haven't had like their first gold medal, is because if they had somebody from the Philippines that came to America and they decided to compete based on their American status as opposed to Philippines, I don't know if that is the case or has any bearing in it, but I thought that was interesting.
That does happen. It does happen because there's been issues too in the past with like the men's soccer team. I know for instance, there's been a couple athletes that have chosen to like they're from a bigger country like a Spain or something.
Right.
But they choose to like maybe they're not like the best at like they wouldn't make their team because like Spain's ridiculous in soccer. So like they wouldn't make Spain's team. So they use their United States status as like a citizen here because they're dual citizenship
Right.
to play for the United States team. So I've seen that definitely in athletes that, may have a better standing or a better, opportunity in their, a different, one of their home countries
Is it
versus a
considered
bigger
like
one.
treacherous? Like
No, it's like no, it's just like a decision. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, you have spent time it's different. So if like for example, you were born in Germany and then you decide like you lived your entire life, you left at 1 years old and moved to United States and then you didn't compete for the United States, it'd be a little weird. Like people it would probably rub you the wrong way at least a little bit. But
yeah.
like it's also their choice because they're dual citizenship. So they can do what they want kind of thing. So that's the only kind of way that it might, but really nobody really cares. It's one of those where it's like whatever country you choose to represent, good for you. You're in the Olympics kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool.
So
yeah, the more you know.
Yep. All right. And another thing from day 3, because like I said, plenty that happened on day 3. One of the handful of openly gay Olympians in history won a gold medal in synchronized diving, which was really cool. His name is Tom Daley. He's from, I believe, the United Kingdom's team, so or England's team. So, that was really cool again because it's relevant, and the fact that more and more athletes across all different athletic competitions and sports are becoming more confident and more comfortable, feeling accepted to opening up and things like that. So it was really cool to see one win an Olympic medal because for some people they might see that headline and just brush it off as like a oh, here we go, like they're of course they're going to highlight the openly gay way. But it's like you also have to realize that there's going to be some kids that are at home that are like I said struggling with that, and then they see somebody having that kind of success, and that can inspire somebody. So it's just those type of things are a lot nicer to see in sports and starting to happen more in sports, thankfully, at least a little bit more. I mean, obviously still nowhere near the level it could be, but at least a little bit more is nice.
Yeah, no, and it's also, I mean, like this isn't what's the best way to say this as well too? There's always people that go back and forth in the conversation of just like, oh, it'd just be great if it just wasn't a headline someday. And like I see what they're saying by that, but at the same time, like there's a time period of transition where it is happening, and that is like it has been this time period. But I think it's also more commonplace that you see stuff like this. I didn't even hear about this until just now, but things like this also seem to happen a lot more frequently and are getting that news exposure too. So it's a weird period where it's just like, yeah, people could be like, oh yeah, I just can't wait for it to just not be a headline, but it is. And then I don't know. I always think that's interesting. And eventually there's going to be some point where they're just like, well, why would they even mention that? That doesn't even matter. And we're far from being there yet, but it's funny that people do complain about that sort of stuff. And it's like, well, it's kind of, I mean, it's like, it is very much still important. I don't know when the day will come that it's not going to be.
Yeah, like the moment that you, whether your reaction is good or bad, the moment you hear that, oh, he's openly gay, the moment you hear that and you have a reaction one way or another, whether it's positive or negative, that's probably a sign that we're not yet where we need to be. Because when you hear whatever it is, certain blank athlete wins, and it's a phrase that you hear all the time that we're used to in sports, doesn't matter, then like you don't think about it. It's just like a part of like what they're describing, like this athlete won. Whereas like now, they mention openly gay athlete wins gold medal. Well, whether, like I said, whether you're like, oh, that's good for him or whatever, or that you have that like adverse weird reaction to it, it's like the reason why you're having that reaction is still why it's not comfortable enough in sports that you wouldn't even blink at hearing that description for a person. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it can entirely be its own podcast going through and deciphering that for sure.
Yeah, so we'll move on to day 4, which is when the big news broke. I guess day 4 technically wasn't when the big news broke. It was day 5. But essentially, day 4 is when it all kicked off because the USA team was competing in the all-around team efforts in gymnastics, women's gymnastics. And Simone Biles performed. She performed in vault or something? I think it was vault. And essentially, after that, stepped away from the team. The team went on to lose lose the gold medal to the Russian. What did they call themselves? It's like the Russian Olympic something like that. It's like the Russian Olympic Committee or something like that is what they're calling themselves. I don't know, but anyways, they ended up winning the gold. The USA team ended up winning silver, and she came under a lot of heat for that because, of course, people were like, "Well, you're the best gymnast, you're stepping away." Listen, the news that came out after, which occurred in day 5, is we'll talk about and we'll get there, but that's all dumb that you have issues with it. She can step away, it's fine. And guess what? If America wasn't going to win gold, then guess what? They didn't win gold. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So that ended up happening. And again, like I said, it really broke day 5 when she actually made the announcement. So we'll talk more about it in a moment in day 5. Sticking with day 4, though, we continue with some, pretty straightforward stories. One of the biggest things in the recent Olympic history is women's swimming, and we're probably witnessing the greatest women's swimmer of all time, which happens to be Katie Ledecky, of course. Ended up winning a bunch of different events at the swimming, but while we're highlighting her, one of the other
went back to where it was at.
Yeah, because you're talking about right now, I think that's Lydia, right?
Yep, that's Lydia Jacoby.
Yes. So while Katie Ledecky I'm kind of setting the stage. While Katie Ledecky has really kind of ignited popularity in that sport, another big name that's popped up, literally at only 17 years old, is Lydia Jacoby, who ended up winning the gold medal, like I said, at 17 years old. 17.
Yeah.
And you know what's insane too? Is they said that she's from Alaska. And in Alaska, the entire state, there's only one pool that has a 50-meter lane.
I mean, there's the ocean. So
yeah, that's frozen, Dylan. Thanks for that, Dylan. Well, they're in Alaska.
It's bracing. It's bracing for you. And by the way, this is not a Photoshop picture. I just realized this. Her arms are that long. I don't know if her arms are like that of a super athlete, but my God, like sure. I could see why she's insane.
Listen, that's why every basketball player has a ridiculous wingspan. It does help you,
Sure.
in way more ways than you'd think. But yeah, so not surprising in that facet. But yes, 17 years old, winning a gold medal, and putting on a really great performance, and one that was a stunner and awesome. And again, it's one of those where the Katie Ledeckis of the world that are happening, the Michael Phelpses brought everybody to watch swimming, and now you're seeing new stars pop up. That's what's really fun about the Olympics, is that those athletes, like I said, a Katie Ledecky in this case, paved the way for athletes like a Lydia Jacoby, who is showing out in her debut in the Olympics at 17 years old. So it's an awesome story, and it's a fun, continuation of the Olympics and what the Olympics are all about, giving opportunity to people that, maybe came up from nothing, or, have, not the chances and opportunities that maybe other athletes have, or other countries even give. So that's what's awesome about the Olympics. So seeing her win in that event was awesome. So
yeah.
Yeah. And then we're moving on to the other newest sport, which again, this is going to be something fun to really talk about. The championships occurred on day 4, which was the fun part of watching day 4. They did participate in day 3, but it was more about the heats and everything. And there was competition over the course of 3 days, I believe. So this is really interesting, by the way. The way that they do the surfing competition is not like what you would expect. So like every type of other events, you think, they set the stage, whoever's participating gets in, everybody goes at their set time and they do their event and they move on. Right. Surfing, they literally obviously are waiting for waves. So what happens is the surfers have to be basically ready to go all day. And it's like, oh, there's a storm coming in. There's a storm coming in. There's waves. All right, go. All right, go. You go. You're up. And then that's how it is. That's literally what it is.
I was going to say, that seems like the hardest part is like not regulating this, but like making it work. Like a controlled environment and the least controllable environment.
Well, and what they did is they waited until the winds picked up, and storms are great for doing this. So actually, it's funny because when you watch these events, you expect surfing, you just picture like this, like, beautiful summer, sky and everything like that. Like, no, the couple days that it was performed on, I mean, look at the champion, even him, that day that he won on, that you're seeing right now in the picture, it's like stormy looking. Like, it looks like it's literally about to storm. Like, it's cloudy and like there's like a rainbow in the background. It was like it was not what you expected, but it was, I guess, what's essential to the sport is dramatic. Actually producing waves.
It was dramatic and it did its job.
Yeah. And so that's what it is. Literally, they had to be on, like, ready to go. So that way, whenever waves start pick up, it was like, okay, go. And essentially the way that they did the event is that you had, I think it was like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And it was just like a freestyle. It was like, go do tricks, and however many tricks.
Do something cool.
Like it was like, and not only was it like that, Dylan, but the guy who won, which you're looking at right now, which by the way is Brazil's Fiera is his name. He broke his board in the first like 2 minutes of his freestyle, ran into the sand, like onto the beach, grabbed a second board, ran back out, and still won the gold. Like,
how did he account for that time? That's awesome. That's efficient.
I don't know. That's insane. How he did it. He's just the best in the world, apparently. So, or one of the best in the world. So it's not surprising. But yeah, it was just so that's the way that the surfing competition is carried out, is literally they were just waiting for waves, and as soon as they started to, it was like a freestyle. You have a set amount of time, and now your job is to go out and perform as many tricks as you can and rack up as many points as you can, essentially.
By the way, the most surfer you could ever have, ever. Like, he absolutely fits the mold.
100%, which is hilarious because you're 100% right. He is literally the like epitome of what a surfer looks like. A really great in shape guy with this like freestyle, like this free kind of look to him.
Yeah. He was born amongst the waves.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so. And then
so is there like a time to, like, he doesn't get to account for that time, right? Like, that's his time when his board broke and he had to run back or whatever. Or are they like, boom, time out, pause?
Yeah, no, there's no timeout. It's just continuation.
That's awesome. Wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, I mean, that's cool that they're able to do is so is that that's a silly question, I guess. Is that a restriction for like further Olympics where they could be held? Is that they have to be within like they have to be able to do this, like surf in the ocean and stuff? I imagine that
Well,
probably doesn't come up too much anyways.
yeah, I don't know how that's gonna play with other inland countries that would win the Summer Olympics. I don't know how that would be. I don't know if they'd be if they'd be carried out in a different area, obviously,
Yeah.
because you'd have to have access. I have no idea. But in this case, obviously being, Japan, an island country, it worked out. So, it was cool to see though, at least. And I guess the other thing too is that what was I gonna say? Oh, I literally just had a thought and now I can't think about it.
It's gone. It was so cool it left.
Oh man, yeah, it's gone. There's so many thoughts up there. Um but anyways, yeah, so that's I don't know how that would play out. I mean, it worked in this facet, obviously, to introduce it to the Olympics, and it was pretty cool to watch actually, because watching them, like again, I don't know any of the tricks and everything. Like I'll have to learn eventually. Like when somebody performs a great trick and they call it something, I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. Now I know that that's the trick.
I mean, they could always like, go with like the Sims 2, the surfing machine that goes in like the back of the backyard. They can always just put like a bunch of those up and then just be like, boom, freestyle. Go as you please.
Yeah, I just don't know how well that would work. You'd have to have a big enough one because like the way that they would do it is they would like ride the wave and then perform the trick, and like you need a good amount of distance to do that and everything, and like a natural wave. It's a sport that definitely relies on the weather and relies on obviously ocean availability. So I'm curious to see how it'll be carried out in future Olympics for sure. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyways, and then the other winner too, that because of course there was two gold medals awarded, one for the men's and one for the women's competition. The other gold medalist was a United States born, I believe she's from Hawaii if I remember correctly. And
Naturally.
her last name's Moore, of course. Apparently she is the number one ranked women's surfer in the entire world. So not shocking that she won it, and it was really cool too because she realized that she won it. I don't know how she did. I don't know if she saw like the scoreboard from a distance or what, but she realized she had won it while she was out on the actual like water performing,
Yeah.
because she had like racked up enough points to win. And so she like just like went on like a like final like little run to like just kind of seal it like as like a championship. You could see like she's smiling and obviously it's a dream. Literally the first time that the sport's ever been introduced in the Olympics, you're the number one ranked surfer in the world, and you go out there and basically solidify why you should be ranked that high. So it was just really cool to see that, and again, her like genuine excitement and everything coming back onto the beach afterwards was awesome. And that's one of the best parts about the Olympics is seeing athletes like that who get to show out for their country essentially.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. And what an awesome picture. Like I find like this is a picture that I found really easily, but
Oh
I
yeah,
like
what a
that's
very
contorting
cool.
your body in such a weird way,
It's
but
yeah, like again, like whenever you see sports like this, you think like just any sport. I mean, like obviously surfing's difficult, balance and everything like that. But there's so many times that you just see a sport and you go like, that doesn't look that hard. Like you just do this, and then you always get those people, but you don't have the appreciation for the sport until you like either try it out yourself or you just like understand that what the person's doing is difficult. Yeah, what you're seeing in this image of her naturally just surfing along is like not a position that I would ever expect myself to ever be in, unless what followed was me slamming my chest into the water, falling off the board, as you see. So, whatever cool thing she's doing, definitely not me. That's definitely not what I would be doing.
yeah, don't try it at home. But it looks
Yeah,
cool. It does look cool.
exactly. All right.
Yeah.
And then we move on to day 5. Unfortunately, starting day 5 out, Naomi Osaka ended up losing. It was unfortunate that she ended up losing and getting knocked out of the tournament, but she made a good showing, like I said, especially being that it was her first time back, from her time off that she spent taking care of herself and getting her mind right. So it was cool to see her, kind of perform well enough in the Olympics. And of course, she had the honor of being the torchbearer. So that was really awesome as well. But yeah, she ended up losing and getting knocked out of the tournament. So that was something, just again, like not a shame thing that you got knocked out, just kind of like a, it was a good, like, how you always like, there's some athletes that like go through something crazy or go through something traumatic or have something crazy happen. And then just seeing them go out and perform, well and do well again always feels good, like
Yeah.
it's just, the way sports does that kind of emotion into it. It was cool. So it was just something I wanted to highlight to start out. But then we moved to the really big winners of day 5. So the first time ever in the Olympics that they were having a 1,500 meter swim, which I don't know if Dylan, if you know how long 1,500 meters is in swimming, I'm like 90% sure that it's 30 laps, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So
I immediately went to
like
a 400-meter run, which is pretty long, and then
yeah, and
multiplying
then
that.
1,500 meters of swimming. Dylan, at one point mid race, they were like, and blah 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 is in the lead, and we'll be back right after this commercial break. And they went to commercials mid competition. That's how long it was.
I have heard about, like, as a side thing, that like the coverage has been lacking in lots of ways. I don't know if that's a great example of it, but I've heard bad things.
There's definitely been some parts of the Olympics that have not been produced as well as they could have.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I saw a couple of people that said that like they've had the BBC coverage before and they've watched the BBC coverage before and then they watched the NBC coverage and the NBC coverage is like atrocious compared, in comparison.
Yep.
I don't know. The Olympics is just fun to watch. Like, I understand that commentators, can be an issue in a lot of different sports. Trust me, I'm a huge sports fan. There's a lot of commentators that annoy the crap out of me. So, I mean, heck, our last podcast, we were talking about how Peyton Manning and Eli Manning being commentators that, like, why would we watch the other commentators? Because we were like, this is going to be so much better. So commentators are important, as well as, like, the way that it's, produced and the way that it's shown. And, because production on an event can make an event feel like it's the greatest thing on the planet, or it can make it feel like it's an afterthought.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, unfortunately, with some sports. So that's again why I was trying to highlight as many topics that I thought were interesting. Just because, you get the standard stuff, the sprinters, the swimmers, the basketball, that all gets highlighted a lot and heavily. But there were some other really cool events, like, watching the freaking competition of the downhill bike riding, where they're like, it's like off-roading, where they're like literally riding down rocks. And I'm like watching these human beings do this. And I'm like, the amount of broken bones that would take for me to reach from the top to the bottom of the hill is insane.
Yeah.
So
literally it was like off-road biking was like the whole competition stuff.
Like it was no joke, like going downhill with rocks. Like they were not moving fast. Like you had to move slowly because you had to go navigate down a rocky hill. And I'm not talking about like little rocks. I'm talking about rocks that are like
boulders.
That they're like maneuvering around, and like one guy fell off head first, and I was like, oh my god, like that would just be so painful.
Helmets, right?
Oh, he slid down the hill. It was bad. I was like, man, this is brutal. It's like literally like you make one wrong move and suddenly you've got like, like 6 months of rehab. But anyways, yeah, it was crazy other events like that are occurring that people don't really get to see or get highlighted. So I'm trying to highlight some athletes that maybe don't get highlighted. But yeah, I've heard the production could definitely be a lot better. But listen, we always complain about production on literally everything. There's always going to be complaints about it, no matter how nice it is or how good it is. Some do it better than others. Take notice, Major League Baseball, to what the NFL has been doing. But I digress. I don't know who those examples are, but
I know my crowning example of production quality is still NBC Sunday Night Football. Is still like, I mean, there's a reason as well. They have like thousands, millions of dollars and stuff put into the broadcast, but still, it is like the top tier broadcast.
Oh, yeah, it's hype.
It's
so
the
hype.
best for anything.
Yeah,
they actually put so much effort into it.
Yeah, and being in the Olympics, and again, you're highlighting a lot of athletes that don't get talked about and will never get talked about except for in the Olympics when they're performing, and they've worked their whole lives for it, and they've overcome so many ridiculous things. I saw one athlete who was performing I can't remember exactly what country she's performing. Um, man, that's gonna kill me. Oh, I can't remember. But anyways, she's Arabic, and she was born in a country where she basically had to like run from like, warfare type stuff happening, and all the, that activity that happens in the Middle East, and then running, had to like go through like what are they called, refugee camps and everything, and then like worked her way to basically where she's literally participating in the Olympics. And I'm like, these are stories and like people and athletes that are like just way better people than like,
Lots.
you and me, so it's like,
Yeah.
not saying we're not, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's just cool to see those type of athletes get highlighted. So yeah, I do understand why it is a little disappointing sometimes when the production is lacking and you don't get to see those athletes really, you know get the due credit that they deserve.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's an important platform for sure.
yeah,
For
but
every 4 years.
yeah, and it's ridiculous. But anyways, yeah. So to go back to our what we were talking about, the Olympics. I guess this is the first time ever that this has happened. They ran a 1,500-meter lap race, and yes, like I said, it literally went to commercial break mid race because they were like, "We'll be back after this commercial break." And guess what? They came back. There was still a couple minutes left of the race because it was a 15. I think it was like a 15 and a half minute total race
Oh
that
my
was occurring
God,
for
exhausting.
15 and a half minutes, Dylan. They had to swim. And Katie Ledecky, like, destroyed it. Like, she was like, like, it was first place is Katie Ledecky, and then it was like, oh, way to go. And then you're like waiting a minute, like a second or two, and then you're like, and here comes second place and third place. Like, it was like, she really killed it. And it was like, people, I guess, had said, like, oh, this is going to be her event. Like, she's literally like trains for this kind of thing, even though she does like lesser races. She literally apparently trains for like races like this just so that way she can perform even better at the lower races.
Right.
So it's one of those where like people were like, oh, she's going to dominate this, and guess what, she did.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally solidified why she's one of the, if not the best swimmer of all time for women. It just this insane, ridiculous stamina and strength and everything. And the scary part too was she finished the race, like didn't even seem like she was like that tired. Like I'm sure she was, but like didn't seem like it. Like she
Yeah.
did not come off as a person who literally just did 30 laps in the pool at full speed.
Cannot
So,
emphasize how absolutely exhausting swimming is. It's such a
oh,
good workout, but like, man,
it's
it's
stupid.
yeah. You're not
So
meant to be in the
it's
water.
no, it's a full body workout, and to move as quickly and as long as they did using all of their muscles in the body is insane. So Katie Ledecky is incredible and one of the greatest just athletes that I think we'll ever see in our life, in our lifetimes, and maybe even Olympic history. I'm sure there will be more athletes that come around that will also say that about. But yeah, she is literally. We should appreciate greatness as we see it. One of the best athletes probably ever.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy.
Then we move on to the a little bit of basketball that's occurring there. So the women's basketball team is the women's 3-on-3 won their first ever gold in the 3-on-3 tournament. So this is the first time that 3-on-3 is introduced. This is one of the newer, the 5 new sports that's been introduced. So it's literally 3-on-3 basketball, which is really cool in its own idea. I love the idea of 3-on-3 basketball. Like I've heard, the NBA All-Star game is a type of game that like you just don't watch because it's just bad. Like people just shooting from whatever they want. Nobody's playing defense. Nobody's attempting to play any ounce of, competitive defense whatsoever. And so you just get scoring
Right.
nonstop. And one of the things that people have talked about is like, oh, they should have a 3-on-3 tournament where like the top, 5 vote getters get to pick their 3-on-3 teams. And then, all those teams compete in a tournament, and the winner gets like, $1 million each or something like that, or 2 million each or whatever, which would be cool, especially for younger guys that are making it for the first time and everything.
Yeah.
But you give them incentive to play. Like 3-on-3 tournaments are so much cooler to watch than the All-Star game because 3-on-3 tournaments are like there's a level of street ball almost that plays a factor in, which is, what it like watching basketball on TV is cool and all, but they're like watching those athletes go. Like if you've ever seen clips of like Kobe Bryant or Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving when they go to like the names escape me on the podcast all the time, but the famous parks in New York and everything where they, the biggest, best basketball players in the world, play at. Watching them go play like in street ball is so much fun to watch because you just realize how much better they are. Like, like go back and watch the clips of Kobe Bryant playing in them. It's like he's playing with children. It's like it's not even, he's just messing around. Like he's just doing whatever he wants. Like it's absurd. Same with Kevin Durant, same with Kyrie Irving. It's like you don't realize the level of skill that these guys have because you see them playing against each other. And so you see one guy miss a shot and you're like, how could you miss that shot, guy? But then like when you actually see them against like, good street basketball players or people that think they're very good and it's not even a competition.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things I've seen ever is Brian Scalabrine.
Exactly what I was waiting to talk about. Yep. That was it.
When Brian Scalabrine was challenged by like tons of people because he was like one of the last guys on the bench for most teams that he was on. So of course he's considered like one of the lower end players in the NBA, and he like was like, okay, like we'll play, one-on-one, in whatever, and he like invited people to play. And I think the competition, people scored the score of him versus everybody that participated was 56-4 or 56-6. Like I think the people against him only scored 6 points against him the entire game.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. So no, I remember I was thinking about that, and I was also remember like the videos or whatever. It was like the professor, the guy who would I think he'd wear like the Spider-Man costume or whatever.
No, you're right. He's called the professor. Yeah.
Okay. Those were fun,
yeah.
But that's a ridiculous gap in talent.
Yeah, people just don't realize it. Like Brian Scalabrine was the best kid in his college. Like that's what happens. Like, that's how the NBA is built. Like the guy at the end of the bench was the best player in college on his team. Like it's just that's how it works.
Yeah.
The best players on a lot of teams in college don't make it to the NBA. Like that's the level we're talking about. And so it's hilarious when people think that like, people, especially in basketball, people think that like athletes, are good players or play good at street ball will have any shot at competing against an NBA player in a one-on-one or street ball setting. It's hilarious. And it always shows itself out whenever, like I said, Kyrie Irving or Kobe Bryant or Durant or any of them have gone out and still shown their skills. It's stupid.
Yeah. That's crazy. That just makes me think of NBA Blacktop all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Good times, Dylan.
It's
good
classic.
Times. I've had so much fun playing that with you.
Yeah, it's a classic mode.
Oh man. But anyways, so going back to this, so basketball, and then the other thing too is the men's basketball team. We're not talking about them just yet because we'll get to them in a minute. But they ended up winning their first game, in the Olympics, so they're finally starting to actually show why they're, maybe the most talented team in the entire tournament, but just don't play as a team, and so that's why other teams can beat them or they're vulnerable. So
yeah,
which is annoying, but oh well.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm interested to see where they ended up going because either way, it's probably going to be. I don't know. They're probably just going to end up showing out and then just beating up with straight talent. But if it doesn't, or if they don't, then I don't know. That's a fun story to follow. How do you end up losing with literally just a bunch of all-stars?
You want to figure that out? Just go back to freaking 2014 and watch the team, or 2004. I'm sorry, it was 2004, I think. Go watch the 2004 team and just like be like, I don't know how you guys are losing, but that's the way it works. So sometimes, but anyways, moving on to day 6 of the Olympics, and a couple things I want to highlight because again, this is another sport that really doesn't get talked about a lot. And I believe this is Zhang, right, from the United States. Okay, so another day 6. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Zhang, who is a badminton player for the United States, who was our best shot from what I gather, or one of the best people in her sport for the United States, competing. and she ended up going down and having to leave with an Achilles injury. And when you watch it, you're like, that did not look good. Like, especially the way she come down on it and immediately stops. It's like characteristic of every Achilles injury you've ever seen, where you're like, that's not good.
Yeah.
So, she ended up going down with that injury, which is very unfortunate. And again, probably something that's not going to get talked about much, but, obviously, great for her that she made it to the Olympics, and she's, one of the best players. And again, probably way better athlete than I am. I can tell you that much, but, at the moment, especially. So, shout out to her for making it that far and everything, but it is unfortunate to see an athlete. And I always hate seeing athletes, especially in the Olympics, go down. They show, like, for example, like the hurdles. You saw a couple, like there was a couple athletes that like just did not, like, ate it badly on live TV. Like, there's one girl performing that in the first hurdle, she missed it and hit it and fell and then wasn't able to finish. And it was like, man, the first hurdle. Like, can you imagine training your entire life? You get to that point and then the first hurdle takes you out. Like,
No.
it's just so disappointing. And it's unfortunate, and it's always bad watching athletes go down because you want to see the best against the best. That's how it is. And you always feel when a person goes down. We talked about this with the Conor McGregor thing. Like, it's a great example is when Conor McGregor went down. You obviously, do I think that Conor McGregor was going to win that fight over Poirier? No, but Poirier will have a much better argument being the best in the world if he was able to win that outright. So it's unfortunate that Conor was able to go down with injury, and then the fight's almost kind of leaving a bad taste in your mouth where you're like, man, it would have been nice to see this finished. So it's things like that where athletes just go down, and it almost, not that it illegitimizes any person's winning or championship, but it just always doesn't feel great seeing that, especially when it's the best athletes in the world performing.
Yeah, nobody likes to see injuries, just period. That's just, man, an Achilles injury for that, that's
unfortunate.
That's a lot of movement, though. It's like, it's a lot, like, I picked this picture because I was like, oh, okay, that's a good capture of how much they're actually moving and like the agility going back and forth.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, first off, the reaction time that badminton players have to have is insane. I mean, if you've ever tried to play badminton just for fun, like the reaction time you have to get your freaking racket to where you can hit the actual birdie in a place that isn't gonna cause you to lose is incredible. So the fact that they do that at an incredibly high performance rate is insane. So even just that alone, and then tag on the fact that they have to be extremely agile and quick on their feet to be able to make the movements that their brain is then trying to make, so is insane. So so it's the amount of movement that's going on and everything. And an Achilles injury, it's very unfortunate, especially of course we're rooting for the United States because we're from the United States, but it's unfortunate, of course, to see any athlete go down that way. Somebody who might have had a shot at becoming one of the only Olympic winners for the United States in history in badminton. So
shame.
And then to kind of go from a not so nice story to another a really great story, and to honestly be probably something that's going to be talked about for years at this Olympics, is Dressel, who's made his name in this Olympics. So he kind of made it early on when the United States were able to win gold in a team competition in which Dressel was the anchor. He then continued that with just more winning, and he ended up winning 5 gold medals so far, which is crazy because it's like we're starting to get close to a Michael Phelps level of dominance in one single Olympics. Obviously he did it for multiple, but in one single Olympics we're getting to where that level of dominance is on display. And so he's really made a name for himself, and it's awesome because again, like like the Michael Phelpses of the Olympic history are awesome because again, they never would have made their name if it hadn't been for these types of events and races and notoriety that they're receiving. So like Dressel, I can guarantee you Dressel's going to be a person that I'm going to see in commercials and is going to be represented in pop culture, until the next Olympics. And it's going to be awesome. And it's very, it's great for him that that's that case. And he's performing super well in the Olympics, and he's outperforming anybody's expectations that they had maybe of him. And it's just a really cool story. Another name making a name for themselves.
So is he done, or is there more for him to come?
I think he still has an event to perform in. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's still got more to perform in. I don't know if it'll be team events,
Right.
and relays, or if it'll be individual, but either way, still a pretty, crazy Olympic performance already so far.
Yeah, no, this was a good example of a guy who just came out of nowhere and all of a sudden he was like on Xfinity ads, he was on like the streaming thing, he was on like everything. I was
Yep.
like, who is this GTA character looking dude and why is he
Yeah.
so popular all of a sudden?
And he's a nice guy from like at least seeing him in interviews and everything, and he you could tell like move you can just tell when a person's cocky or when a person's nice, or like you can always just tell by like the way that they act or the way that they carry themselves. He seems like a really really good guy, which also helps rooting for him.
Yeah.
So there's that too. So
Yeah.
but so, and then another cool story in swimming that I want to talk about, because of course the United States always with the cool stories in swimming, is this kid right here. Fink is his last name, just a fun name to say, Fink. He ended up winning gold in his first ever Olympic appearance and Olympic race ever.
Wow.
Like, and I'm pretty sure he's 18 years
Peaking.
old, I think, too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure it was in like I think he won I think it was a 1500 for men.
Okay.
So,
Equally
because
exhausting.
Katie Ledecky won the 1500 for women. I think he won the 1500 meter freestyle for men, if
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. So, and again, first race ever, literally winning gold is insane.
So
And probably a name that we'll see at the next Olympics, because if I believe he's only 18. So, next Olympics, he'll be right there and it'll be a name that you'll be like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a favorite.
you just be excited because you can actually pronounce his name.
Oh, yeah. I
It's an easy one.
think. I just want to say think over and over again. We'll talk about him nonstop. Same with Russell. Easy names I can pronounce, which
Right.
is fantastic.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, wow,
and
God,
then
these people are young. This really sucks. This hurts emotionally.
now I know it literally 18 years old. Yeah, but that's how it is watching like the NBA draft, Dylan. When it's like, oh, Cade Cunningham picked first overall, and then you look and he's like 19 years old, and you're like, man, that hurts. That hurts my soul. Like
And
it's
he's about to walk in the other
oh,
room and sign a contract to make 20, 30 times we'll ever make in our career learning earnings ever.
oh
It's awesome.
Dylan,
Instantly.
look at like all I gotta do is look at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's literally our age, and he's making he's set to make $500 million, and he is a part owner of two franchises now. So
Oh yeah.
three,
Yeah.
yeah, two franchises. So
Well, we
yeah,
can't all
well,
be physical specimen freaks in the NFL, I guess.
by the way, we forgot to talk about it. So first, we'll go to day 7, which the only thing really on day 7 that I wanted to highlight, which actually goes into the conversation about who wasn't performing, and hence why this person was able to win. So day 7, and I'm not saying that this person only won because of that.
Right.
Please, don't take that as that. But day 7, Suni Lee wins the gold in the all around for women's gymnastics, which you'll see right here. She, her first ever win in an individual event in the Olympics for gold. So it's really cool. And what made way for that was the Simone Biles stepping away, which we kind of highlighted or referenced in the fourth or day 4, I should say, of the Olympics. But obviously really became a thing in day 5 when she officially announced that she was stepping away. But it did give way for a new person to win the all around, and that happened to be Suni Lee, which is awesome for her. So her first ever medal. And I think too that after the performance that the women's gymnastics teams had in this Olympics, every single person on the women's gymnastics team stepped away with a medal, which is really cool from the
Yeah.
Olympics. So, whether it be team events, but it is still actually, sorry, Dylan, I know you just went to go find that picture. I want to break into that conversation about Simone Biles, because that's
Yeah.
the neck. That's where I know our conversation is probably going to be for the next probably 10 minutes. Because it's something that I want to talk about, because it was big news for, annoying reasons, of course, because people just complain to complain. So I don't know if how much did you see of this drama of the Simone Biles stuff?
0, I think.
Oh, okay. So Simone Biles stepped away from the team on day 4 from the team competition, and we ended up with silver, losing to Russia for gold. People, of course, were pissed off because, of course, it's like, oh, we lost to the Russians, blah, 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 whatever kind of crap that people pull that are frustrated, that
Who
are,
are these people?
just people on their couch.
Who's the overlap of people who care about this and the people that are that are mad?
I don't know. There's too many of them, and they're loud. Is basically what I'm getting at.
Just imagine some dude just being like, like, I can't believe it. Like, how could we lose to gymnastics to Russia? Like, god damn it. But it's like,
I know.
Who's that guy?
I know, Dylan, but it's God, it's a conversation we gotta have because it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah. So essentially, this whole conversation started because she decided to step away from the team then on day 4. Then day 5, where she was supposed to participate in individual performance, she ended up stepping away and announcing that she was stepping away from the events, or withdrawing from the events, and moving on to where, maybe she was going to perform in the Olympics again, maybe she wasn't. And when interviewed about it and asked about it, because of course she was one of the biggest names going into the Olympics, she basically cited that she didn't feel like the Olympics were going to be for her. And she's the one that made all this, made her way to the Olympics and put on all the time and effort and work into it. And she didn't feel like it was going to be any achievements or anything for her. And she wanted to do something for her, herself once. I want to say that I 100% support and understand that, because when you're an Olympic athlete, you have worked your entire life and done so many things. You've made so many sacrifices, and the motivations could be, a couple things. Could be that your family's driving you. Could be that yourself is, you're self driving yourself to get there. Whatever it may be. But the point is that when you become as big as Simone Biles is, and everybody's looking at you as if like you need to go to the Olympics and win 6 gold medals, that's what needs to happen. And like if you do anything less, you're suddenly, people are going to talk about it. I fully understand her going like, listen, I want, like, this Olympics became more than, or bigger than what it should be in just a single performer performing in the Olympics. It suddenly became this like thing where she had this expectation where it was literally perfection or failure. And you know what? She said, she was like, no, I'm not doing it. She stepped away, and rightfully so, took some time for herself. Because the other thing people too talked about, which me and my dad were talking about it, because I like mentioned it to him and was like, yeah, did you see that she's stepping away? And my dad was like, yeah, I don't know why they're giving her so much crap. And I was like, yeah, I completely agree. It's weird. And we were talking about it, and my dad agreed. We're like, gymnastics, the amount of things that she's attempting on a daily basis in these events are things that other gymnasts wouldn't even attempt, because of the danger level and just the incredible difficulty that the moves basically need to, in order to perform. And so if your mind is not 100% right, and you're not 100% ready to go to perform these incredibly dangerous and precise movements and efforts, you should not perform, because you are then in danger of injury, or even worse. So especially an event where literally you're spinning and flipping through the air at a speed and, velocity that is just mind blowing. So one false movement could mean the end of her career, or even, the end of a person's life potentially in this type of setting. So the fact that she decided to step away because not only was her mind not right, but she also didn't feel like she was performing and doing it for herself is completely understandable. And that's basically where I sit on the side of the conversation. And if you think that, as a viewer or a person out there, if anybody thinks that she should have performed, or she should just get over it, or whatever you want to say, you're wrong. And the reason why is because people are human beings and athletes are human beings, and human beings, tend to not be the type that deal, some people don't deal with pressure well. Some people do deal with pressure well. Some people maybe, get stressed out from all of the pressure that the entire country is putting on them. So that is understandable if they decide to take a minute. I know there is times where I feel a lot of pressure or stress and I need to just take a minute. And I'm not an Olympic athlete where the entire country is going, you must be perfect or else we're all going to be disappointed in you. So I completely understand. And that's my take on that.
Yeah, I heard this story and I wanted to look it up to get my facts right, but this I think this was brought up. So maybe you know it, maybe somebody else knows it. Basically that this gymnast, a while ago, she basically she was doing a run, she was flipping everything that you're describing and twisting and doing all that stuff, and she straight up, she like destroyed her ankle. Do you know this story? Do you know this
I do
is?
not, but it's not surprising.
Okay, this is apparently a really famous story that I didn't know. So I guess it's not as famous as I thought, but yeah, as an athlete, she destroyed, like literally shattered her ankle on a bad land. And she still ran the next time, which she like waved off trainers and everything, and she ran full sprint with like no limp or anything, and on a shattered ankle, a destroyed ankle, and still did everything, still did her entire moves, flipped. She had the presence of mind to turn still on one leg after she landed towards the judges and everything, and then complete the motion, and then collapsed. Who was it?
Sorry, no, I do know exactly what you're talking about. She's a gymnast for America. I can picture her in my mind. I can't remember what her name is. I can even picture her, like she's blonde haired. Yeah. I remember exactly who you're talking about because she landed on, like she bounced up and landed on one foot, the opposite foot of the injury. And like you said, and even after that, did another bounce and faced the judges, which was just literally insane. Because I can't imagine doing any. We'll talk about another athlete later on that does something incredible.
It wasn't just like a pity run. She won gold, 1996 at Atlanta.
Oh my god, just insane! What's the name of the athlete, by the way, so we can actually
Carrie Strug.
Who is it?
Carrie Strug, Strug.
Gotcha. Give her the credit she very much deserves, because I sprained my knee and I was out for 6 weeks. So I can't imagine what that is like to freaking shatter your ankle. Oh man, that reminds me of that's like the story about Donovan McNabb, where he was in the NFC Championship, the quarterback for the Eagles at the time, and he shattered his ankle and played the rest of the NFC Championship on it, which is insane. That's like those type of stories. I like, oh man, just the amount, like, people can say all they want at home while they're sitting on the bed, or sitting on the couch watching the Olympics, whatever it may be about, like, oh, suck it up, whatever, it's an injury, whatever, the injury is not that big or whatever, it's, it's the Olympics, you should just perform. In any competition or any capacity to function as a normal human being on a shattered ankle without being on crutches is insane. Yeah. So to do it at a ridiculously high level to the point where you win a gold in the Olympics against the best in the world is crazy. So yeah, so again, just what we're highlighting is essentially any false movements or slight changes in your landing, or your lack of being focused or driven to do the moves that you do, which already people can't do in the world, to then have that issue where that could be a potential problem, not being able to complete it. Yeah, I'm not surprised that she stepped away, and like I said, it's 100%, I support her decision to get herself right. And she actually did come back and perform too in a later event, which we'll talk about in a future day in this kind of rundown of the Olympics. But
yeah, no, 100%.
So
we definitely went in on that perception as well, and it still maintains to be the same as now. Yep. It's hilarious. Again, the crossover. I really want to see the Venn diagram of those people. The people who are one going to get mad, and then also just be like, "Damn it, you got to be out there. That you can't lose to a Russia."
I know. It's unfortunately with social media and everything, it's always the silent majority and then the vocal minority that is talking, and that's how it always is, especially with social media, because people just have this weird idea of like that I can suddenly say whatever I want because I'm behind a computer screen, and then you get some just ridiculous things said like that. It just, when they were disappointed that the team lost to Russia and ended up as a silver instead of gold, and people were like, we would have won gold if she had participated. And it's like, okay, all right, like calm down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then we go on to day 8.
Day 8, Dressel and Ledecky basically represent the craziness of day 8, which is that both of them dominated. They both showed why they're both the best swimmers in the world right now at their sport. And I it's like I said, it's a running theme with Ledecky as well as now with Dressel, especially in this Olympics particularly, where both of them are just incredible athletes and are just icons of their sport and are going to dominate their sport no matter what. And that's just the way that it is. And they're probably the best, like I said, probably the best female and probably the best male athletes right now in swimming competition in the world. And so, yeah, just incredible performances on both ends. They both continue to win golds, and Dressel, like I said, has totaled 5 golds already in this Olympics, and he got a couple of them on that day. So just continuing again to dominate.
Yeah, so crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, swimming is one of those sports that, because of Michael Phelps, has really become a very popular one in America, at least. And I know it's obviously popular elsewhere in the world, but it's one of those where, like, in America, there's so many sports, and we have the NFL, we have baseball, and all these sports that don't exist elsewhere too, and everything, that we're not like as privy to some of the other sports that you may see, such as marksmanship and fencing and things like that thother countries do. So swimming has become a very popular one. So these two being at the top of their game and being at the top of the swimming world is insane and awesome to watch. And again, it's part of the reason why the Olympics is so fun to watch, because you get stuff like that. By the way, I forgot to highlight this from an earlier day, but did you actually see the incident of that coach that Aaron was talking about?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh my God, Dylan! Just on the side, real quick, while we're watching this podcast, just look up Austria. I think it's was it Australian, or I thought it was
I'm
Austrian.
sorry. Yeah, actually, no, Tessa did send me this. I did see
the coach.
That now.
Yeah, the coach in like the green shirt freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an epic performance that was for the camera. And I love too that people were like, oh, the poor like Japanese girl that's like trying to keep him in the box and like keep him like restricted, of like, hey, it's COVID, you need to like calm down, and she's just losing his mind. It's hilarious. But
we
also
need people like that,
Well, I mean, again, it like ups the excitement, and there's things that happen in the Olympics again that like make people's names. By the way, I just want to put it out there, because that swimmer actually beat Ledecky in one of the swim races that they were in head to head, is Titmus from Australia. So an incredible swimmer and one of the best swimmers in the world. Same with Katie Ledecky. They both are, widely considered the 2 best athletes. I think I heard that the one race that they were participating in, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the 400 meter, that her and Ledecky hold the 25 of the 26 top fastest times in the race in the world.
Oh,
so
yeah, and you don't hear about that either.
No, so things like that you don't hear, which is just awesome. And again, highlighting an athlete that you wouldn't normally see. So again, Titmus is her name. She literally, she won gold in the 400 meter. That's what I was talking about. She actually beat Katie Ledecky, which if any swimmer beats Katie Ledecky in the Olympics, they're a name you should probably know moving forward, because Katie Ledecky's, again, like I said, probably one of the best swimmers of all time, if not the best. So just something I just wanted to throw back to that I had forgotten about, and that, he had even asked us on our opinion. So I was like, man, I got to go back and actually talk about that. I forgot. My bad. I apologize, but I got to it. Yeah, it was insane. That coach, so hyped, so crazy, and just will absolutely be a meme and a video that we look back on for this Olympics for sure. So,
yeah.
All right. Oh man, what day are we on? I forget. We're still on day 8. Okay, we're still on day 8. So 2 Americans dominated their heats going on to the finals in the hurdles. One of them being McLaughlin, who I think is appearing in her 5th Olympics. I think it was. This is her 5th Olympics. So, okay. Pretty experienced, pretty good at the whole running thing, right. Obviously. Hence why she's in her 5th Olympics. And she was competing against another American in Cockrell, who is also somebody who is supposed to be, again, one of the best hurdlers and runners in the world. And they both really dominated and showed out in their 2 races that they were performing in. And I believe, I don't know if the championship occurred today or has yet, but they both, were performing exceptionally well, and I believe are both qualified for the final. So,
yeah, nice.
Yep. All right, and then we move on to day 9. We're getting there. We're almost there. Today's day 12, so we got 3 more days to go through. Day 9, day 10, day 11. Day 9 is where Dressel finished basically his epic performances that he's been having. Dressel goes for 5 and makes it 5 golds, and one of those where he's, I think, one of the only athletes in history, along with like Michael Phelps, to win that many golds in one performance at the Olympics. So obviously etching his name in the history books and forever in pop culture and American culture. Because like I said, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to see this man on so many commercials in the future for whatever product. I mean, this guy could probably sell me some, like, I don't even know. He could probably, whatever you sell me. He could sell me like literally anything. It'd be like a toothpaste, and I'd be like, yeah, that guy's cool. I'll buy that for sure. Like, that's
down with it.
So yeah, you just look at that man and I just go, yeah, I'll buy what you're selling, whatever it is. I don't even care.
Yeah. No, he's definitely got to look for it. I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Oh, he's a very good looking guy too. So that's going to play heavily into his ability to get so many different sponsorships and, different endorsements and things in the future. I guarantee he's going to be in commercials, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
So, and then a big part of day 9 was Jamaica's absolute dominance in the Olympics, led by their number 1 runner and a person defending both of her 100 and 200 meter titles in the Olympics, is the Jamaican runner by the name of Thompson-Hera, who set her set an Olympic run record this year in the 100-meter dash, her own record that she broke from the previous year. So, just improving upon the greatness that she already is and already has. So right. There's that. But yes, she literally dominated, and Jamaica continues to dominate the 100 and 200 meter dashes. They finished 1, 2, 3 in the 100 meter dash, gold, silver, bronze. So, wow. Yeah, the absolute dominance. And I'm pretty sure I saw a thing that was like, since like 1992 or something, they've won like almost all of the medals that were like could be awarded, like Jamaicans have won or something like that. It was something crazy stat line like that, where they've had just an unbelievable dominance over the last like 3 or 4 Olympics.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, just an incredible performance by her. And then another really cool, fun, unique story that people aren't going to hear on, the normal mainstream, but her name is Sanders. Her nickname is literally the Hulk, because she is an incredible, just incredibly strong performer, and performer she was in this Olympics, because she ended up winning gold. And not only did she win gold in shot put, but she also won gold in the after performance and celebration, because she literally just like used the winning gold as like just a runway for like epic, coolness, whatever you could do to be the coolest possible. That's what she did basically to celebrate her gold medalist. And it was awesome. And of course, like a name again that like I've never heard before, but like I'm gonna remember the Hulk from
a terrifying picture.
It's
crazy.
That's an intimidating, incredible photo for somebody who was like a lot of fun after she won too. And it was really, like I said, really cool to see her win, and awesome for the United States and great for her. And she's definitely going to be somebody I remember from the Olympics. And if that was her goal or if it wasn't her goal, either way, she accomplished it. And it's awesome and good for her, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Another person that I wanted to highlight, I believe this is Kristen, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is insane. I heard this story. It was like mentioned briefly, like in like the thing, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I like hit rewind because I was like, did I hear that correctly? Yes, you heard this correctly when I say it. Kristen Palmer won bronze in her diving competition in which she performed with a torn ACL.
Yeah, is that like a Philip Rivers situation where just like some people don't need it, or was she in like an incredible amount of pain?
I don't know, dude. She was like, when she got out of the pool, she was like not using that leg, like limping over to like her coach. And I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, participating in the Olympics with a torn ACL, and I was like,
Mad
that
man.
can't be right. It can't be right, right? I didn't hear ACL, and I like rewinded like 20 seconds, and then
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, she performed with a torn ACL, and she ended up winning bronze. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? She won in a medal? Like,
Yeah.
performing in the Olympics with a torn ACL is one thing. Winning a medal while also having a torn ACL? Oh my god. And they also said too she performed like one of the most difficult tricks like ever. And that's why she like won the or the bronze medal.
Yeah. The pain
So,
tolerance of some of the people,
oh my
especially, I don't know if
god.
injuries this year are just like an abnormal thing because of COVID and everything and not getting normal workouts, but I don't think I've heard this many times that people are just dying, like not dying. People are literally just like falling apart
Yeah,
because
it's
they're all of
insane.
a sudden going from 0 to 100 and everything.
Yeah, I have no clue, but man, was it insane.
Yeah.
I just yeah. Um that was yeah, so that was day 9. One other thing too that I want to mention for day 9 really briefly, it's not something we need to like put up on anything, but another cool thing that happened on day 9 is in the high jump, the Venezuelan runner, I think it Venezuela? No, I'm sorry. The Qatar and Italy representatives in the high jump ended up tying for the high jump for the gold, and they both like walked over and basically like accepted like the end, like they weren't gonna like continue to perform and like try, because like you'd have to like try to get the next height, and if neither of them can do it, then like that's it, you're just at the next height, like that's it, you
Yeah.
know. So it like went over and like both agreed that they were gonna have the gold together, which was like it's just a cool thing, it's just a fun like, you know, the Olympics are supposed to be about like everybody coming together and like countries and different cultures and different, you know, peoples coming together that normally wouldn't be in the same place or normally wouldn't be, you know, participating together in the same competitions, and they are in the Olympics, and that's what makes the Olympics great. So this is that like perfect story where you're like literally two people from two different countries, two worlds, two different civilizations, two languages came together, and one like decided together, they're like, you know what, we're gonna hold this gold medal together, it's gonna be me and you, and that's awesome. I love that. So
Yeah. No, that is cool. It's
it's just
rare to
a like
see
it's just a
now.
really, yeah, it's just a really cool headline for the Olympics, and that again, that was, you know, just a really cool way to wrap up day 9 that I saw as well. So then I move into our last 2 days. Day 10 was, well, disappointing for the United States, I will say. Canada beat the United States for the first time in 20 years in the
Oh,
Olympics.
20
Yeah,
years.
yeah, that's how it goes. So it was unfortunate. The women's team this year, I don't, you know, I don't know enough about the team or you know, just soccer, football in general to know, you know, why exactly the team didn't perform as well as they should have. It seemed like, from again a person that doesn't know very much the ins and outs, that the team just, it was one of those things where they got too big for their own good. It didn't play, you know, it's the same thing with the issue that you see with the USA, the men's team for basketball, is that you know, there's too much talent and not enough like actual team play and teamwork. So I don't know if that's the case and that's what really was driving it, but unfortunately, that was the case in this situation where the United States ended up falling short of the performing, or I think they actually aren't going to be able to participate for a medal because of this loss. So, like, it's that bad where, like, we are not even going to medal after last year where we just blew every single team away by so many points that it was, like, actually sad to watch. This year, it's, like, very disappointing.
Yeah. That's unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, after watching their two scrimmage matches before the actual Olympics went underway, where they lost, I'm pretty sure both of them. It was not looking good for them to start. And then obviously not being able to now medal in the Olympics is pretty sad. And it kind of feels like how the United States men's soccer team felt in the last World Cup, where they didn't even qualify because that they underperformed so well or so much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it feels a little bit in this situation.
Huh.
So,
yeah.
But in a lighter note, though, another USA winner for the Olympic gymnast team, and again, this with her winning this medal, I think it's what solidified that the entire women's gymnastics team ended up with a medal, or at least went home with a medal, regardless of what it was. Is Jade Carey won her first gold, or wins the gold medal in, I believe it was the vault competition. So that was really cool as well. Because again, like I said, it's made sure that every single gymnast went home with a medal, which is awesome. Because to think about that, like you sign on the team and you get invited to the team and you make the team, and then you were like guaranteed a medal essentially. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of cool. It's a cool picture too. It was found as well.
So just wanted to highlight that. It was it's very well. It was probably the end of a performance or whatever. So, which would make sense with the pose that she's going there. But yeah, so that was really cool. And then another cool little thing, which you should recognize the name for this person.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you should. So transition it. So this is the winner of the hurdles. Her name from Puerto Rico is Camacho Quinn, and she happens to have another famous sibling by the last name of Quinn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember.
Who
yeah,
happens to be Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
The defensive end for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Well,
so this is his sister.
Yeah, I do remember actually hearing this come up. I didn't know she ended up winning. I saw that she was participating. That's cool.
Yeah, she won for Puerto Rico, which is really cool. So
yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was really cool because I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, I love seeing families that are just so ridiculously athletically stacked.
Yeah.
Like, it's like looking at like the Gronkowskis or something, where it's like, or like the Watts, where like all three of them are in, all three of the siblings are in the NFL. It's like one of those where you're just like, man, what a freaking athletic family.
Yeah.
Like, my God, gifted. But anyways, yeah, she won the hurdles, so that was really cool. Won gold there. So yeah,
that's
something I wanted to highlight there.
Hopefully we hear more from Robert Quinn this season. So
well, the good news is, Dylan, is from what I've heard in reports of training camp, is that he has basically said that he very well underperformed, and then people have said basically close that have known Robert Quinn for years have said that he looks like stronger and way more athletic and quicker than he's ever looked in past training camps. Like essentially as if like he was like, okay, I know I screwed up and I need to come back and become the Robert Quinn I am.
As long as he said that he drop foot, yeah.
Yeah, they said that like in the first season or the first like training camp practice, he pressured the quarterback a bunch and had a quote unquote sack. Like you're not allowed to sack a quarterback, but he literally recorded a sack like in the first like practice of training camp. Huh. So he's like already been like showing basically that, yeah, this is the Robert Quinn that we thought we were getting last year, which is exciting. So
yeah, cool.
But anyways, yeah, so that was really cool. And then last thing I want to cover, well, second to last thing, there's one more thing for day 10 is this is a cool story, or just a cool thing I saw that was one of those things where I'm like, that's kind of cool, is this Netherlands runner by the name of Hassan. She literally fell down during this race, fell down on the ground and got up and finished in first place in a heat. Like, this is a heat. Like, she didn't even need to finish in first place. She just had to like qualify for the next round. And she was like, nah, I'm just going to like destroy everybody and just win. So like,
yeah, that's embarrassing.
Imagine like bumping into her when she was falling and being like, oh man, that really sucks for that girl. And then just be like running and then just being like, wait a minute, hey, hey, you get back here.
Yeah.
She's like running by you.
Yeah.
So just
how do
what
you
an
pick up the speed that fast?
dude, I don't know.
Just that much better.
Yeah, just being very good at what you do, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, she ended up winning, and it was like a convincing win. Like it was not like a photo finish. Like she won by like a step or two.
What did she fall from?
I think it was just one of those where like, just people bump each other, or you like lose your footing, or it happens because it's like you get very like in those long distance races, everybody's really tight together because everybody's riding the inside lanes. Because
Right.
obviously that's less running you have to do if you're not on the outside. So in an Olympic race, every little bit counts. So I think it's just one of those where she might have banged somebody and then maybe she lost her footing or whatever it may be. But either way, she ended up falling and somehow ended up coming back and winning first in her heat. So crazy.
Shame on those other runners.
Yeah.
That she was that much better.
Yeah, and then another quick little note to end day 10 is that the NBA or the USA men's and women's basketball team both advanced to the next round, which is really good. And from all accounts, it looks like the men's basketball team is starting to actually perform at the level that they should be performing at, or at least playing more of like a team that we hoped to see rather than the individuals and, that they represent. Because obviously, again, like we've said before, this team very much seems like just a star talented team that doesn't know how to play as a team. But it really does seem like they're coming to that. And the team that they beat in this round to advance was Spain, which is huge because Spain was the second highest rated team versus the US. So automatically beating like basically what is considered the next best team is pretty good for the United States going forward. So
what NBA players Spain have?
They got like Ricky Rubio. Oh man, I'd have to look at the Spanish team to tell you.
So not like a lot of huge premier players.
No, they have some good. Well, they have some good players. Um, Hold on, let me just look this up because they have a couple players. I know Ricky Rubio is like the point guard, obviously. Yeah. So Marc Gasol,
Okay.
Rudy Fernandez, Hernan Gomez, who was really good. Willie Hernan Gomez. You have Victor or Quinn Cologne. Oh man, hold on. Just looking. Basically you just have like they're like a really good team. Like they have some very good players. They've been better for sure in the past than they have been recently, at least in this Olympics. But they're just a very good team that always performs, pretty well in the Olympics. And enough to be considered usually the second highest rated team. So it's one of those where like to beat them moving forward is really good for us and is one that is going to be, really nice moving forward. So
Yeah.
because obviously knocking off the second best team means that you might end up facing lesser competition in later rounds. Of course, you probably shouldn't think that way because that's when you lose. And we're a team that still doesn't quite know how to play as a team. We're getting there, but that is one of our weaknesses. So not go too crazy just yet.
Right. No, seems safe to me.
All right, final day. We're here. We're done it. We've caught up fully. I mean, today's day 12, so of course there's a lot of stuff that's happened today, I'm sure, but we're not going to cover that because we're just covering everything up to today. So we move to day 11, and right off the bat, we start off with a guy by the name of Warholm who dominated in hurdles and won the gold. And by the way that I mean dominated, I mean like his own world record that he had from before, he blew away. Like that's the kind of dominating that we're talking about. Yeah.
Wow.
So
beating your own record seems almost no, it feels, I don't know, somehow less fulfilling, because you're not actually like you're competing against yourself instead of somebody else, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I know.
Oh, there we go. Put that back. Yeah. No, that's it. That's interesting. How much did you beat it by?
I think it was like 0.6 or something like that of a second.
Wow.
Which is like, doesn't seem like a lot, but like literally if you beat a world record by like 0.05, like that's pretty impressive. So like beating it by like, tenths of decimal spaces is incredible. So hundredths of a second is crazy. Tenths of a second is like, jeez, dude, calm down. Why don't you spread some talent for everybody else? Like, so yeah, just an incredible performance for him. And again, another one of those things where probably not going to be highlighted a lot. So I wanted to highlight it because I was like, well, that's pretty crazy when you break your own record and you break it by a lot.
Have you ever tried to run hurdles before, just for fun?
No, I've never once ran a hurdle because I know how that's going to end.
Okay, I did run hurdles once or twice or whatever when I ran track or whatever.
Mhm.
It's really weird because I thought immediately, probably like you, like that you were just gonna immediately fall on your face and like trip up immediately. And
No.
I didn't, and it felt more natural once you get into like the first motions of it. I think it's one of those things where like going up and down the stairs, like if you do it and you just don't think about it, it's easier. And that's kind of what happened
Yeah,
with me because I just
I
like did
just
it. But it's weird.
I've just have never had a vertical in my life.
Yeah,
So like I don't
got it.
really foresee that being, like the height of my vertical in my most athletic state was probably like 20 inches,
Right.
which is like not great.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well,
yeah. So
this was Luis Vasquez because he was like, oh hey, like try the hurdles, and I was like, okay, and then I tried him and stuff, but that was like his main event, and he was like, oh, you could probably try and do that, and I was like, I don't, I don't like that. I don't know. I feel like in a competition setting, I'm gonna fall straight on my face. Like that's when it's gonna happen. Like
yep.
practice field when nobody cares, that's different, but it's actually fun. I thought I would hate it, and I thought it would be really like messing up your knees and stuff and getting injured, but it's weird. It's a really weird feeling.
I mean, I'm
So
sure it's
respect.
like I'm sure again in competition it's extremely difficult to compete at a high level doing
Hmm.
it. But yeah, I never thought to do it because I was like, I feel like that's not gonna end well. Like I just am not,
Right.
you know, me big offensive lineman, no jump hurdle. Like that's how that works for
Right.
me. So
No,
like
smart.
I'm just gonna mindlessly angrily block the person in front of me. Not really great for like dexterity type of moves like that.
Right.
But anyways, why do you have that on the screen? Is that in the oh it is in the 11. Oh, this is when she came back. Okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. All right, I don't even know my own notes. Jeez. Look at that. So yeah, Simone Biles highlighted her for a final time. This is when she decided to come back and participate in the last events that she was eligible for, I'm pretty sure. And she ended up finishing bronze in the what's it called? Balance beam.
Yes.
So, which is good for her because again, balance beam, you do the when she's doing things on it that like other people don't attempt. It's pretty, again, your mindset has to be in the right, setting and everything. And so for her to be able to step away and still come back and perform, same kind of how I felt about Naomi Osaka, where you step away from something like that and you're able to still perform at a high level is incredible. So the fact that she was able to walk away with a bronze medal still after stepping away is, you know, pretty impressive and really just good for her.
Did you think it was interesting that she talked about she was I just saw an update on the side, but that she had like a I don't know if it was like if they did talk about it as like a mental block or whatever, but she like it was literally called the twisties where she either had a mental block or like a physical block where she couldn't seem to land the twist perfectly. But she
Yeah.
also was she just said that she thanked like I think a random Tokyo gym that she basically worked in secret, and then she was like training in secret there to like get over the mental block or whatever that she needed to get over. So that
Yep.
was kind of cool as well. She had like a hideout gym where she just worked on it, just completely away from media, away from teammates, all that.
Yeah, that's what we call in baseball the yips. That's
Yeah,
where you just
exactly.
there's a mind block where like you should be able to do what you're doing. Like you're capable of doing it, but you're just something isn't clicking and you're not able to. And that's yeah, in baseball it's called the yips because it happens to athletes all over the place because yeah, it's there's a mental side to every athletic sport that you play. I was joking about being an offense lineman and being angry, but like I was way better when I was angry. So like if I wasn't actively like angry and like I'm gonna do this, then like I wasn't performing to my best. Same as like other sports. If you're not in the right mental state to be performing at the level you're supposed to perform at, then you're not going to perform as well as you can. And there sometimes happens to be things like that where it's unexplainable, mental blocks, like you said, that just you have to get over. And so yeah, so it's incredible if that is the case, and that's what it really was, is that she had like kind of a mental block. It's pretty incredible that she was able to get over it that quickly. And that's just again a testament to the athlete and person that she is, that she was able to. And so that's, really shout out to her for all that. And, I wish her the best success moving forward. And again, she still put on a good show, through the events that she was performing in. And, will enjoy to continue to watch her.
Yeah. No, I just think that's crazy on the side that you'd also be like training just to get rid of and trying to get over that at the same time. And it's got to be a weird feeling to just be anywhere else that you'd be going or anywhere in the same area. People would just be following you, and then just finding a small reprieve from that and just sticking to it. So that was kind of cool of her to shout that out.
And then we'll move on to a couple last things. So, really cool that Slovenia is continuing its streak with Luka at the helm. They're advanced to the semifinals, which is incredible because, again, this is literally their first performance in the Olympics ever as a men's basketball team. And of course, it helps when you have probably one of the top 5 players in the league or, in the entire world, let alone, in the NBA playing for your team. So yeah, that does help. And that's kind of, he's carrying that team and really taking command. And Luka's definitely, like, I've talked endlessly about how I called Giannis being as good as he was because when he got drafted, I was like, oh, that kid's gonna be great. And I said that to Craig. Luka's one of the people that I definitely will take an L on because I thought Luka was a little too slow for the NBA. I thought his movements and everything, I thought he was just a little too slow, where his game was just going to be defendable. Not in the way that I'm like, not saying that like he was going to be completely shut down, but just that like a good defender would be able to, limit what he was able to do on the court. And I was completely wrong because his game incredibly well translated to the NBA, and he just became one of the best players in the league. So like I said, as much as I take the W on Giannis, I will take the L on Luka. And I would love to see Luka in Slovenia against the United States. I don't know if that's 100% even possible, but if it is, I hope that it happens because that would be incredible to watch that gold medal match. So,
which, by the way, if you want to follow Slovenia, they are playing France at 6 a.m. tomorrow, August 5th. So that's their next game. If they keep up winning, they could still win a gold. I think it's France and then Germany next. If Google's right. Yeah. Men's quarterfinal, semifinal. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They played and beat Germany. So France is who they're up against next.
Oh, okay.
Just your classic time, 6 a.m.
France is a very good team. They're the ones that beat the United States in like one of the scrimmages before the Olympics. So they have good players on that team all over. So that's not surprising. And that would be a good matchup, actually. That's gonna be a fun game to watch.
Bright and early. You could still catch it.
Yeah, I think I'll be probably on my way to work during like the halftime. So, but yeah, so just a cool story. And then we'll finish with this will be our last Olympic story because the last note of my notes we already kind of covered previously.
Sure.
So this is Gabby Thomas, who finished with the bronze in her, I forget what race it was. I don't know if it was hurdles or if it was just a race. But anyway, she finished with the bronze. Still a very good showing for her, especially being a person who's like studied neuroscience and, just one of those people that's just incredibly gifted past anything that like, I'd hope to achieve kind of thing.
Just makes you feel like garbage usually.
Yeah. Just one of those people, but really just a very cool athlete to highlight and all of her achievements and everything she does. And I hope she's in the next Olympics because that'll be a name that I'll be looking out for if she is. So, and I like catching Olympians seeing Olympians when they're young because then it's fun to follow their career through the Olympics. Sure. Especially like a Gabby Thomas, seeing her like as young as she is. I look forward to seeing her more experienced, even maybe in better shape and even better than she was this year in the next Olympics, and that's going to be fun to watch, let alone her getting a bronze and being the genius that she is or the intelligent person that she is.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Just nerf some people. Like, honestly, they don't need all that. Distribute it a little bit more. Everyone else could use a little bit of a leg up. So
yeah, Dylan, that's like the offensive guard for the Kansas City Chiefs last year, where it was like
The doctor.
Yeah, the one who's like, like, oh, I see not playing for the team this year. Oh yeah, he went to go be a doctor in Canada and help them with the outbreak.
And the
Like,
best part
okay,
is
it's
the same people you're talking about that were like Simone Biles needs to beat Russia. They're like the same people are just like that. He needs to be protecting Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He would have been doing better if he wasn't out there fighting that fake virus. Ridiculous.
by the way, I just a little connotation or a little comment on that. You like that, by the way, the way that you said that in like the comment or whatever, the way you said that was very in reference to a certain group of people because of those people may happen to be in that group, I'm sure.
For sure.
So just thought that's funny. But yeah, that concludes our Olympic talk. Holy cow, it was like 2 hours worth of it. But guess what? We're caught up all the way on the Olympics. So now now you're caught up. You're ready to go.
This was the master coverage because we missed
The
last
Olympics.
week. So
Yeah, this is the Olympics special because we missed last week. Otherwise, we would be updating you like 5 days at a time, which is like a little bit better. But we went through all 11. We're good.
yeah, no, exactly. Got to break it up in a good place. And this is something I've been looking forward to because I don't know enough about basketball, and I told you my qualms with the NBA, and you told me your qualms with the NBA too.
Yeah.
But like hometown stuff is easier to follow. It's more interesting. There's more stakes on it and stuff because it doesn't feel as far away. So when something interesting happens and there's some sort of change in the town, I like to follow that, even if I don't care. Even if like the NBA wouldn't watch like a normal game, now I'll probably watch and I'll tune in because we're like, oh, at least they'll be competitive or there's something different. There's something new. It's not the same thing recycled over and over again. But that would be all the Bulls off-season moves that were done just recently.
So nice. Yeah, so you should definitely watch the NBA this year, especially the Bulls, because being from Chicagoland area that we are huge Chicago fans, and some of our teams are, have always underperformed or have underperformed for years. Looking at the Bulls right here. But the Bulls this last year decided to do something that every single NBA fan across the world even wanted to happen, along with every Chicago fan here, that we wanted Garpax to be fired because they were awful. As president and GM, they were the two worst people on the planet to be the GM and president, and they were our GM and president. So here we are. So we finally got rid of those two, and we brought it over Artuvis. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. And he is our president of basketball operations, and basically has brought on what his style of building a team and running an organization was, which he did with the Nuggets, which the Nuggets, you'll know, are one of the best teams in the Western Conference and the NBA in general. So coming from him, and he's actually, if you look at his history of trades and everything, he actually swindled the Bulls out of a trade here and there. So that's not surprising in the least that he done that in his past. But he came to the team a year and a half ago and came with a new, I'm going to build this team and do it the way that I, know how to do it and the way we should do it. And we all put our faith into him, and we're like, you know what? I don't even care who you are. You could know nothing about basketball. I'm just happy that Garpax is gone. And, you ever want to know how much that Chicago fans hated Garpax? We had a billboard on one of our expressways that
Legendary
drove into,
moment.
yeah, that literally said fire Garpax. I mean, this is a fan base funded billboard in one of the major expressways that led into Chicago.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was great.
Yeah, you want to know how much we hated them. So them being gone in general is a great thing. And then getting this guy who ran a successful organization over at the Denver Nuggets is something to be happy about for the Bulls. We saw it last year with him drafting Patrick Williams, 4th overall. That was an interesting pick because Patrick Williams didn't even start in college basketball. He was actually the 6th man. He was a 6th man for reasons, though, because like the first team was already very talented, and he happened to be a very good 6th man in college basketball. Not that, but he also is a very, very talented NBA player, and he looks, so far, I mean, it's only been 1 year, but he looks like he has, like, when I watched him, he feels like a young Kawhi Leonard, which is incredible if that's the case. So, and actually people have nicknamed him the Paw because he's the baby version of the Claw, which is Kawhi Leonard. So
Oh, I don't like that. I think that's funny, but I'm also, it immediately makes me think of the trend of oh god, this gonna be terrible.
what?
Oh god, Shaheen. I was gonna say the absolute washed out tight
Oh yeah.
end that was gone. They were always like, "Oh, he's baby Gronk, like he's gonna be baby Gronkowski
Oh
because of
yeah,
that stuff." And I
yeah.
was like, "Ugh, ugh,
No, but
stop."
Patrick Williams actually has like the very same skill set that Kawhi did coming into the league, where
Okay.
he has like, because like watching Patrick Williams, I'll tell you that like without hearing that reference or that joke, I was like, he looks like Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Like he just has like a great pull up mid range game, which is what Kawhi Leonard started the NBA with. And then he has a great defensive effort and knows where to be in passing lanes and is just a very good defender and is super athletic. And that's what he is. And that's why I was like, to me, he feels like Kawhi Leonard. Like he feels like what Kawhi Leonard looked like going into year one, which is, very promising because,
Oh yeah.
I think he has the potential. And I'm pretty sure he was the youngest player in the draft last year when we took him. He was like literally only 18 years old when we took him. So, it's one of those where like his talent is going to continue to grow. I mean, we're talking about Giannis being in his seventh or eighth year, winning the championship. So like and if you look at Giannis day one in the NBA to current day winning as an NBA champion, he literally put on 60 pounds. So I mean, this kid could do the exact same, put on weight, get way better at the game, and become a Kawhi Leonard. I think he has the potential, and so I'm excited about that move. And then this year, the Bulls decided to continue upon those great moves that I thought they were making. And they signed Lonzo Ball, who's a guy who I've been very excited about and very adamant about how I would love for the Bulls to get him because he's a perfect fit. What Lonzo Ball does well is he's one of the best guard defenders in the league, which finding a good defensive player in the league who's young and talented and big enough to cover multiple positions is difficult. So getting Lonzo Ball, who's 6'6" and can cover point guards and shooting guards, and maybe even some small forwards as well as he can, is incredible. Because this team, if you watch the Bulls, have been god awful at defense. They'll put up a ridiculous amount of points, but they'll also give up a absurd amount of points. So that's why we're not good. Getting defense is going to be an improvement, especially because trading for Vucevic last year, which was another move made by the president, was awesome. Getting another All-Star, bringing him to the Chicago Bulls was great. But Vucevic is an offensive player and a very average defender. He's not terrible, but he's just average. So not bringing the defensive, hope that you would want, especially being the fact that he's a center, and centers a lot of times are relied upon as rim protectors.
Yeah.
So you need to find the defense elsewhere.
They
Lonzo Ball
just
fits
got
perfectly
someone,
in.
didn't they?
Huh?
I remember specifically that they just, like, I was listening to the radio and they specifically they got like a backup rim defender as well. I think it was Tony.
Yeah, they signed Tony Bradley.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they signed Tony Bradley, who's a good defender too. He's a center. He's like 7 foot tall as well. So he's a good rim protector. But he's a backup, so he's not, we're not saying he's going to start or anything,
Sure.
but he's a good rim protector to fill in on those defensive sets, which will help out. But the Bulls also, after getting Lonzo Ball, signed Caruso. And a lot of people went, that's kind of weird, signing 2 point guards after already having a point guard on the roster. But the thing is you can run 2 guard sets by basically having Lonzo and Levine run with the first team. And then when you bring out the second team, you bring out Kobe at point guard and Caruso at shooting guard. And you have automatically a very dynamic 2 guard set for your first and second teams that are going to run, which is awesome because guard play right now in the NBA is vastly important. Because we're getting into a smaller ball, or we've been in a smaller ball league for years now. So that's awesome. And then obviously the piece de resistance of this whole quick rebuild that's occurred is getting a final piece, which we were joking about this before we started talking about it, is Craig, one of my good friends, had sent me messages about the Bulls, and I had told him like, oh, Caruso and Lonzo coming to the Bulls, that's awesome. And he was like, yeah, but we need one more piece. He's like, we need a piece like DeRozan. He's like, I hope it's him. And literally the next day, it was like, oh, the Bulls made a sign and trade for DeRozan. And I was like, thank God, because that's exactly what we needed. We needed a final piece to add to the puzzle, because I've been saying it for the longest time that Levine and Vucevic are great offensive weapons, but we need a third offensive weapon to really spread the floor and give the defense too many threats from the scoring to cover in order to make our offense reach its potential that it can. So I'm really happy with that. And we also have Coach Donovan, who's a veteran coach from the Oklahoma City Thunder, who had to deal with people that are not very good team players and guys like Westbrook. And so he still made it work with them and made it work with Chris Paul and running 2 guard sets there. And what he did really well at OKC before he left to go to the Bulls was that he ran, like I said, 2 guard sets very well, or 2-point guard sets very well. So that's what we're going to try to do here, which I am very optimistic about. And I think this team, if at the very minimum, is going to be a playoff team that's fun, but I think at the maximum, they could be a actual genuine threat to, the East and maybe even coming out of the East. I mean, obviously there's some big hitters in the Bucks and the Nets, but you never know. I mean, we saw the Bucks overcome the Nets talent, and we saw how the Suns, who were a very, very good team and felt like the champion, were overcome by another team that was just well put together and played well, and their stars played well, and Giannis. So
plus they had some young youth to them too,
yes,
which the Bulls do have.
Yeah, and the Bulls are starting to fill the roster out very nicely. And moving forward, I'm actually very optimistic with the Bulls, and I very much like the moves that they made. So
is Laurie staying or still headed somewhere?
So they extended the qualifying offer to him, which the way that it works in the NBA is when you draft a player and they're going to hit free agency, there's a thing called being a restricted free agent, and there's a thing being called the unrestricted free agent. A unrestricted free agent has the ability to sign wherever they want, whenever they want, no matter what. A restricted free agent has the ability to entertain offers from teams, but if a team offers the person a contract and they're like, hey, I'm going to accept this contract, the Bulls have the ability to match the offer. And then basically he has to come back to the Bulls.
Okay.
So, or if he doesn't get offered a contract that he likes, he can play on the qualifying offer that we extended to him, which is usually like 8 or 9 million. It's nothing like super big. And it's a 1-year deal. It's kind of like think of it as like a franchise tag. Like we extend the qualifying offer, he accepts it, and then he plays on a 1-year deal. And then next year, I'm pretty sure he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So like if he doesn't find a contract that he likes, or he doesn't think that the market is quite where he wants it to be to get a contract, he can always accept our qualifying offer, play with us on a 1-year deal, play well, and then next year, maybe the market's better and he'll get a bigger contract. So
you think
he can always play it that way,
like this year at least?
I don't know. It's gonna be hard to. I don't know what team's gonna offer him. I don't think that teams are looking at Lauri Markkanen as like this is the guy that's going to help put us over the top. So in that case, I don't think he's going to find an offer that he's going to like enough to accept. So I think, in my opinion, he'll probably sign the qualifying offer and stay with the Bulls. But I could see him going to another team because he's a young power forward talent that, people might be able to say like, it didn't work in Chicago, but we can make it work. Teams do that all the time. So that could be a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm also curious about this next topic as well. I wanted to hear your take on it as I pull it up on the side, but I think it's going to be exciting to actually be able to go to Bulls games. If possibly be able to get a ticket or anything, but something tells me they're going to spike up in price quite a bit now with them being a more competitive team. That's at least what I'm guessing, but unfortunately he's not in this picture. But it was one of the bigger moves of free agency too. But thoughts on Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers? Interesting move, boring move.
It's a move that to me doesn't make sense because it doesn't fit. So I heard there was 2 trades that were going down. One was a trade for Kyle Kuzma. I think it was Kyle Kuzma, and who was the second piece? I'm trying to remember who the second player was. It was Kyle Kuzma and somebody going to the Kings for Buddy Hield, which would have made incredible sense because Buddy Hield's a great shooter and a great scorer, which would have, and he's a great like off the ball scorer, which means like when he gets a pass, he'll catch and shoot kind of thing.
Yep.
Or he's a catch and shoot shooter, which works perfectly with a guy like LeBron who likes to distribute the ball well. And what did the Cavs do successfully around, building a team around him is giving him guys that he wanted that were shooters, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smiths, Kyrie Irving, guys like that he can distribute the ball to and they can shoot and score. Westbrook, to me, getting him officially over the Buddy Hield deal, I feel like is going to seal their fate, and I don't think they're going to win a championship. And the reason why is because I don't think that they're like, same with the Carmelo Anthony signing. Like Carmelo needs the ball in his hands to be successful on offense. Westbrook needs the ball in his hands to be successful on offense. LeBron needs the ball in his hands to be successful on offense. Like you have too many of those guys in the building where I don't see, like, it's going to be an incredible coaching job to get them to run the right sets and the right lineups to utilize all of them the best they could be utilized.
Right.
Because it's going to be, because like Carmelo's not going to like not playing a lot. Like, and he's not going to play a lot. He shouldn't play a lot because he's a liability on defense and he's not the same scorer he used to be. So he doesn't make up for it on that end. So he shouldn't play a ton, but he can be in there in certain situations, where LeBron needs to rest. And then like the way that needs to work is they need to run sets where LeBron and Westbrook should not be on the court very much together because both of them need the ball in their hands to be as successful as they are. And so for like instance, what they should do is they should obviously start Westbrook and LeBron and AD together in the same lineup at the starting lineup. And what they should do is they should take Westbrook out early in the first quarter, let LeBron run the offense, and they should put Westbrook in for a little bit with LeBron and then take LeBron out and let LeBron rest while Westbrook runs the offense. That's how they should do it. Because if they try to play them together, like Westbrook is not a catch and shoot type of guy. So like LeBron's not going to be looking for him to distribute the ball to, on the key and everything, on the top of the key and all that. So like that's not going to work. So you have to figure out a way to make sure that they're both getting on the court, but not a ton together, because I don't think they're going to work together. So that's the only way that's going to be successful. And even if you do that well, I don't think you're going to be successful enough to win against other more complete teams that are just going to play better together. Right. So,
I mean, it also, there's also the fact that they're losing Caruso, which, if I understand from what I've seen, is like a very well-respected defender, if anything, not so much a scorer. So that's gone, and they also got, kind of torn apart by the Suns. Obviously, they had the injuries and everything that was added up to. So, I don't know. So you feel like it's not going to be as competitive, the Lakers team, with what they're doing right now. They're kind of just bringing all the the stars like together.
They're going to be good, but they're just not going to be. I don't think they're going to be good enough. Like they're just not. And I don't know who pushed the Westbrook trade through. Like, I don't know if that was the Lakers wanted him or like LeBron wanted him or something like that. I don't know who pushed that trade through, because it was weird, because it said literally, like, I saw a report that was like the Lakers are trading for Buddy Hield or going to trade for Buddy Hield. They're finishing a deal. And then suddenly I saw a notification that was like, the Lakers have acquired Russell Westbrook. And I was like, why? I was like, why didn't you go through with the Buddy Hield trade? That would have made way more sense. Like, if the Lakers got Buddy Hield, I would have been talking, like, I would not be talking about how the Lakers are probably not going to win it at all. I would be talking about how the Lakers, in my opinion, would be a favorite to win it all, because they'd be adding a ridiculous scoring piece that would fit in so perfectly next to LeBron and AD. So I don't understand that.
I thought it was weird. I mean, again, even as a casual, I was just like, what? Why? That seems like, really? That's where you're putting all your chips in?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was like the team pushed it through or LeBron pushed it through, but it feels like somebody pushed it through to get Westbrook there instead of going with what, in my opinion, would have been the smarter move and getting Buddy Hield.
Yeah, but like less of a popular or fun option, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then they got Melo too.
Yeah, and again, that's another person that needs the ball in their hands. It's just a lot of people that need the ball in their hands, and there's only one ball, so I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
But then we go to a team that I think upgraded for sure, which is the Miami Heat. Ended up getting Kyle Lowry in another sign and trade. Getting Kyle Lowry is huge because the Heat really struggled to run an offense successfully, and by running an offense successfully, I mean running an offense like through a point guard. Like they worked well, and when the Heat made it to the finals, it was because they had Goran Dragic running the team, pretty well from the point position. But then he got injured, and that's when the team really fell apart in the finals. Because then Jimmy Butler had to do way too much and literally played 48 minutes of one game and was exhausted after that. And it was like, okay, well the Heat are done, and that was in the bubble. But the Heat getting Kyle Lowry is going to be huge because if Kyle Lowry can stay healthy and he can, be anywhere near the same old Kyle Lowry, he's going to be huge for them because he's going to be able to distribute the ball and run an offense where he can get everybody involved. Because another guy that they got too, who they signed on a smaller deal, is Victor Oladipo, who you have a picture of right there too.
Wait, what? Wait, did I miss that?
Yeah, didn't they sign Victor Oladipo?
Oh, sorry, the most recent thing that I saw was oh, wait a second, hold on. Wait, I was
Oh man.
Oh, I don't know how I totally mixed up those people, but yeah, no, you are right. That is why the picture is up there. I was looking actually at bringing up sorry, on the side, LaMarcus Aldridge was considering a return.
Potentially coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, I just completely read two posts at once and combined them.
No, you're fine. But anyways, yeah, the Miami Heat, to finish what I was saying. Okay. Sorry, Danny Green went to the 76ers. I just saw that update.
I was wondering why he didn't get signed.
Yeah, he was finalizing a deal with them, I guess. 2 years, 20 million, 10 million a year. But anyways, yeah, so Victor Oladipo going to the Miami Heat's huge because that's another great defender and a good scorer when healthy, to really kind of again spread the wealth in that offense. And they were able to sign back Duncan Robinson, which is huge because he was a huge part of their offense, spreading the floor. They got Tyler Hero. The Heat are a very good team, and they made some very good additions that were like holes in their offense and holes in their team that need to be filled, and they filled it with pretty good players and Kyle Lowry and Victor Oladipo coming in there. So if those two guys can stay healthy, this team is a very dangerous team and a very I would think a team that, in my opinion, if they were to play in the East, I think they might even be favorites because of how good they are. Because you have Jimmy Butler who can cover the Kevin Durant's, the Giannis's, and then you have Victor Oladipo who can cover guards well. You have Kyle Lowry to run the offense. You have Ben Adebayo to score well and run kind of an athletic center position. So you run kind of like a smaller set. So they're a very dangerous team as well.
Yeah. And also, what do you think of Kemba Walker's buyout?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy because he went to
he just signed a massive contract.
I know, but he went to the Sixers, right?
I am unaware if he went anywhere yet. I know.
No, he did. He signed with a team. He did a buyout to sign with a team. I just can't remember what team.
There you go, then.
Was it the Sixers?
Let's take a look. See here, the Sixers. I didn't even know. Oh yeah, gets by. Oh yeah, the Knicks. The Knicks.
Oh, the Knicks. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, he signed a deal with the Knicks immediately after the buyout.
He didn't get any coverage. That was just like, yeah, he just signed a massive, massive deal and then turned around and he was gone that quickly.
Yeah, that's because they're they just needed money badly. Because they're going to have to extend Jason Tatum soon, and they're going to have to extend Jaylen Brown soon too, almost at the same time, if not at the same time, I'm pretty sure, which is going to be a massive amount of cash for both those guys. I mean, we're talking probably 350 million combined for the two players. So hence why they're trying to get rid of some cash in Kemba, who really hasn't fit as well as they had hoped into the offense. Him going to the Knicks, I don't really know how I feel about it, because the Knicks were a good team last year and were, a playoff team. I just don't think that like Kemba Walker is going to put them over the top. Like if you told me they got Kemba Walker 6 years ago, that's a different story, because we're talking about a younger Kemba Walker who was leading a Hornets team to being, and a Bobcats team to not being bad, or being, halfway decent. So like if you told me that they got him 6 years ago, I would have said, oh, that's a huge get, for the Knicks, and that's going to help them great. I don't know if Kemba Walker now is going to be able to do what the Knicks need to do, which is the same issue that I had with the Bulls last year, which is the Bulls needed to get another big scoring weapon, and I think like the Bulls last year before they traded for Vucevic, I was like, man, they really need like another big weapon. Now the Bulls didn't get a big weapon, but they got two other really good weapons. So like you kind of made up for it. Like you took two players and you like needed a big, a number one scorer, and you end up going and getting two really good scorers. That kind of fills that hole together.
Yeah.
With the Knicks, this feels like how the Bulls last year traded for Vucevic and they were still bad because like they needed more pieces. That's how this feels. Like the Knicks getting Kemba Walker feels like, okay, now you're a little bit better, but you're not still yet good enough.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And like if RJ Barrett starts to take strides, because RJ Barrett's their young, super talented small forward that they have that could fit really well into that offense with, running with Kemba and them. But I just don't know. I don't really know. I feel like he's not there yet. And by the time he gets there, like Kemba's going to be a lot older, and Julius Randle's maybe not going to be as performing as well as he is, and I don't know. The Knicks team again feels like the Knicks of old, which is that they're a really good team, but in a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I don't really see anything. I always find it funny when I see deals like that, because it seems like you're signing on to not even that much money into just like a team that doesn't really seem like they're going to go anywhere. But all the best to you. May as well go for it.
All right, and then I think these are going to be our last two topics, this and the Carson Wentz stuff, because I gotta go.
Yeah,
but we gotta go. It's been a long podcast, but anyways, so our last two topics we're going to hit with the NFL. First off, we're going to start off with the NFL New York Giants, who are deciding not only are they going to be a bad team, but they're also just going to start imploding before the season even starts, which is great. I love that too. Love when a team just destroys themselves. By the way, you moved the screen to Carson Wentz prematurely. Oh my God, what a premature Carson Wentz that is.
Never want to see that. Premature injury.
Premature Carson Wentz. That's what we're watching. A wild Carson Wentz appears on the screen.
Oh no. There we go. I thought it was going to crash. There we go. Hold on.
Okay, anyways, so we go to the Giants, like I said, who not only are they bad, but they also just want to self-implode and just be as bad as they possibly can be, and then set new records for being bad. I think they're trying to achieve like the level that the Jets have been at. So the Giants decided to implode, and one of my favorite stories was Joe Looney. Did you see this about the offensive guard?
No.
So if I'm right, I think the timeline is that Joe Looney signed with the Giants. What was it, like on Thursday? And then had this massive fight that he was a part of on like Saturday. And then like Monday they ran sprints. And then literally on Tuesday, like he announced he was retiring. It was like this man literally went from signing on to the team, being with the team for a fight, then watching the team get punished, and people citing that like their punishment was like running laps and doing stuff that like they haven't done since literally they were like in 4th grade. And then he literally retired a day later.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like, you guys have to realize that like these are grown adults, and that like, hey, go do a lap is not the same when you're talking to a 30-year-old guy versus, a 16-year-old kid that's just being kind of a, a-hole. Like,
right.
So
no, I think that's I thought it was actually like a really unusual thing, but I guess it's not super unusual, where you just see a bunch of veterans and different players retiring during training camp because they're like, do I want to come back? Do I still have it? And then they go through that and they're like, yeah, no, I'm done. Never mind.
Well, I mean, it happens. I mean, there was that freaking story of oh, what's his face? That sent that corner. I think it was a corner for the Bills where he retired at half.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff happens where the players just like have a moment, like they have like it happens all the time in sports, so they just have a like an epiphany almost where they're just like, yeah, I don't have it anymore.
Yep.
Like I just like that's it. I've met like where I just don't got it anymore, and I don't really feel like I want to do it anymore, and then they just don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it happens.
Yeah, it happens, and maybe that's the case, but I also do feel like all of the stuff I've heard coming out of the Giants camp is that like players are just not happy with the way that it's being run there, and that people are saying like, you know, like one player was quoted saying that like he comes from the Bill Belichick school, and like he thinks that he could just walk in and do that kind of stuff.
It's Matt Patricia disregarding all over the fact
that, well, it's like people just don't realize that like Bill Belichick can be Bill Belichick because he's won 6 championships. Like it's just, you know, like he consistently put a team out there that's very good, and so like it's called the Patriot way for a reason because it's Bill Belichick. He can do what he wants. Like Bill Belichick failed as a coach for Cleveland back when he first started coaching, and that's why he got the Patriots job, is because he failed in Cleveland and then he ended up going to the Patriots. And so what people need to realize is that like he failed in Cleveland because he was not Bill Belichick yet, and he was trying to run Bill Belichick's style of coaching, and it just wasn't working. And then they weren't good, and so then that just married together was a bad situation, and so he was fired. But Bill Belichick is able to run the style of team he is. You know, this is the same issue that they had with Matt Patricia and the Lions. It's because Matt Patricia tried to walk in and act as if he was a similar Bill Belichick type of person, and people were like, dude, you haven't won jack. Like Bill Belichick is the reason why you're where you are. So don't try to act like you can just act like Bill Belichick. Like he can act like that because he has that kind of credit and that kind of respect. And that's the thing that people fail to see or fail to recognize, is that these are adults. Adults you have to earn respect with adults. And the way you earn respect is by winning 5 or 6 championships, aka what Bill Belichick's done, and why people respect whatever he says and whatever he tells you to do.
Yeah. No. I think it's funny. I hate when coaches do the petty stuff like that, and I love to see it backfire. So I'm a huge fan of that. I was a huge fan of Tom Coughlin fizzling out because of his stupid tactics. So the more the merrier. I don't have any love. I don't have any care for the Giants. They don't interest me at all. If they'll implode, that's awesome. More fun to watch. I love a Matt Patricia repeat if that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the USA team is currently playing, and they're down 44-31 to Australia right now.
Oh boy.
So I'm here. I'm reading a lot of negative hate right now.
The women's team or men's team?
Men's team, and KD just bricked another 3.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and then our final topic, right? Carson Wentz's injury.
Yeah, here
also
we go.
Compounded on Quentin Nelson's injury, but this literally the same. I don't know, the same exact injury, but the same exact timetable.
Yeah, very similar injuries, which is just kind of scary because you're like, all right, really? Like I saw one of our guys that we love, Brett Coleman, made a tweet that was like, you know, what kind of god, like what god or demon did he piss off down in Indy? But Carson Wentz has his injury, which by the way, apparently is an injury that doctors are saying that he might have had since freaking high school. And I'm like, okay, how did the college, maybe I get it. You don't have the best coaching staff down at North Dakota State. You know, it's, you know, I get that. It's fine. It's not Alabama. You maybe don't have the same, you know, type of training group. But then you go to the NFL where you are playing for a team that's supposed to have a good training staff. And how do they, for 6 years, miss this? And then suddenly it goes to Indy in the first, you know, second he's in Indy, it finally is like, okay, we've had enough, Carson. We're done. We're done supporting your foot, and it breaks.
He just stepped off the bus and just crumpled into a pile at that point.
I mean, this was the fear with Carson Wentz. It's hilarious because my dad is a huge Indianapolis Colts fan.
Oh,
and so
why? They're one of the worst. I hate the Colts. I've always hated the Colts.
He's grown up watching the Colts, so that's why. It's the same reason why I'm a Yankees fan, because I've grown up watching the Yankees. He's the same way with the Colts. He grew up watching them because his family loved him, and so he's always been a Colts fan since he was little. And so it's funny because I walk in the room and I go, "So, Dad, I hear that Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew might be your saviors," and he just was like, "Don't talk to me." He's like, I don't want to do it." He's like, "That is the worst statement I could have heard." After he's like, "That was the worst statement I heard since the we signed Carson Wentz statement." Or we traded for Carson Wentz. And I was like, fair enough.
Man, I remember when we thought the Bears were going to do that.
Oh my God.
That was like the best option.
But I will say, if you go look at our podcast on Wednesday, we did this podcast on Wednesday, and our podcast, I literally said, I think I started the segment out with, so Carson Wentz is going to be traded to the Colts. And then literally the next day it was like, Carson Wentz traded to the Colts. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Knew that was coming.
Yeah, I know.
There was a moment where it was like, oh man, are the Bears going to be stupid enough to do this? Thank God we weren't. Thank God we weren't.
I will absolutely love if for some reason, and apparently it's not going to happen, but if Foles would have gotten traded there, that would have been great. The odds of that are so low, but it would have been awesome to see.
I don't know. I feel like Nick Foles getting traded to the Colts actually would make some kind of sense, especially because the coach for the Colts used to coach in the Philly system where Nick Foles was. Yeah. And it's the same concept as why we ended up with Nick Foles, where it's like, oh, let me get a quarterback that's familiar with my system.
Except I think it would mentally break Wentz, because this son of a gun has followed him everywhere throughout his career.
I would absolutely die if he ended up getting traded to the Colts.
I mean, it's a non-zero. It's absolutely a talk in the front office. You have to imagine that's a real thing they're discussing as an issue. We could trade for him and everything, but we might bankrupt our second and third round pick that we traded away for this guy, because he might just be, crushed.
He might literally cause him and his brain to explode.
Yeah, literally.
So I don't know. It's a tough situation to be in, especially because they're a team that literally, if you took, if I were the Colts, it's one of those where you're just they need a star quarterback. They literally just need a quarterback. That's it. Their team is so well built.
The Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as the Broncos. I'll tell you what, when Aaron Rodgers becomes a free agent next year, if the Colts and the Broncos aren't the two top teams trying to sign him, if I were the Colts, I would offer I'd be like, listen, Aaron, we'll give you $100 million a year and you could just come here and play.
Right.
Just do your thing. I would literally be like, dude, we'll buy you a house here. I don't care how big it is. We'll build it. It was like I would just offer him literally everything. I'd be like, come to Indianapolis. Because if he went to Indianapolis next year, they're favorites to win the Super Bowl. I'm not even kidding. Because that's how good the Indianapolis
Would he rather go to the Colts or the Broncos? I think the Broncos have a better defense for sure. The Colts probably have a better O-line.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd go to the Colts because the Colts have a better offensive line. And
but the Broncos have so many good receivers.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is if the Colts are going for example, the Bears, who are stupid enough to let Allen Robinson go. If I were the Colts and I had $70 million in cap space, I'd be like, hey, listen, Aaron, we're gonna sign you. Oh, and you want Allen Robinson? Okay, done deal. Or you want another wide receiver that's one of the best in the league that's disgruntled because the same team also hates him apparently is Davante Adams. Yeah, we'll sign Davante Adams with him. Can you imagine him and Davante Adams going to the Colts and that how that team would look?
No, insane.
Yeah, it'd be stupid. They'd be unbelievably talented.
Yeah.
If I were the Colts, I would I would give the keys to the city to Aaron. I'd be calling Davante Adams in the middle of the night and being like, Davante,
yeah,
come to the Indy. Convince Aaron to come to Indy with you.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate thing where both of those players could be available next year and want to play together. And you're a team that has a ridiculous amount of cap space and an unbelievable team ready in place. And you could be like, come here.
Yeah.
If I was Aaron, I would 100%. I'd be like, I would call Davante and I'd be like, listen, Davante, I want to go to Indianapolis and I want you there. And then I would call the Colts and be like, Davante's coming. Give him a massive deal. And then if I were Indy, I'd be like, thank you, Aaron. Here's the keys to the city. We're gonna build you a mansion, wherever you want, and you get free food for the rest of your life at Indy.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see him in the Broncos, honestly, because I just don't like the Colts, but they'd be interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah.
That's where it end up. But by the way, the USA team, now they're down 45-42, I think. The Australia just
Yeah, it's a game of runs. That's how it always is.
Yep, that's how that goes. And then
but anyways,
we're not going to get into this now, but I'm also very interested in going over what I said originally, which was a little bit dangerous, getting rid of Charles Leno with Taven Jenkins and like his back tightness and everything being held out of practice. So we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, but it's early training camp. I mean, the dude could sit out for a little bit, and
I hope it's
fine.
just that. I do hope it's just that. For sure.
Yeah, I mean that happens because they just started full pads. You're gonna see this. It always happens every training camp. As soon as they start going full pads, you see like little injuries, like he had a little bit of back tightness, he had a little bit of soreness in his knee, he had a little bit of his foot hurt, his hand hurt. You see those kind of things because it's like now we're in pads going full blast, and you're gonna get these little nicks here and there, and we're gonna be like super cautious about them. So we're gonna say it's back tightness, and you're out. Even if maybe like you just don't feel great, like you're like, I don't know, my back, slightly hurts a little bit right here. They're like, okay, back tightness, he's out of practice.
Yeah.
I'm not. If it's like a thing 3 weeks from now, then yeah, I'm worried.
Yeah.
But if we're in training camp and he's just like, we just started full pads and he's a little bit of tightness in his back, I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah,
it'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's it. That's it.
Yep.
We're done.
Oh, we gotta go to bed. I gotta go to bed. You gotta go to bed. Everybody else who's listening, whoever's listening, go to bed for the love of God. Thank you for listening, though. It was a very long podcast, but we were able to get through a catch up on all of the Olympics, kind of make up for our little hiatus that we went on last week, and we're probably gonna go on a somewhat of a hiatus next week because we literally won't be here in town. Because me and Dylan, as well as some of our friends, are going on a vacation Tuesday through Thursday of next week, so we won't even be in town. So
do a live podcast on the lake.
Literally.
Review.
But yeah, so thank you for joining us, everybody out there listening, wherever you're listening, whether it be our Apple Podcast, which is now available, our Spotify podcast, which is now available. You're listening to us over on YouTube, or you're listening to us live on Twitch or wherever it may be. Thank you for joining us and listening to all of us. And yeah, that's all I got for you.
Everyone gets super excited because we've officially crossed over into Thursday, and Thursday means the Hall of Fame game is on, which means the NFL season officially commenced in terms of preseason.
Oh, here we go.
And then boom, 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 everything becomes the biggest news cycle, in the country for the next, 6 months, 7 months, whatever it is. It has started. It is today. So good night and take care.
Good night, everybody.